for Gachagwa's impeachment are a tactic by Ruto's administration to divert public attention from pressing national issues.
Hata wakijaribu wakigawa hiyo mlima, kwanza hawezi kugawanyika. Na wazee wamekataa. Badala kukimbizana na rigiji, nimesema wakimbizane na wizi. 104 billion shillings. Hii mambo ya impeachment ni diversionary. Wakenya waanze kufikiria hiki na kile, na kumbe huku mifuko inabaki kila kichochote. Huku Sakaya amechukua kodi yote.
University education is expected to resume fully after the lecturers and staff called off their strike. This after the Ministry of Education and their labour counterparts agreed to implement the lecturers' demands. In a statement, Duasu and Kusu asked their members to return to work immediately after the government agreed to implement the 2021-2025 CBA. University lecturers and staff have been complaining about the lack of full implementation of the MOU. The last time the salaries of the staff was increased was in 2017. The salaries of the lecturers will now be increased between 7 and 10% per month.
We are now ready to sign a return to work formula, which will mean that the strikes are now concluded. For academic staff, the employer undertakes to immediately pay the basics monthly salary at the rates advised by the government with the interministerial committee as follows. For grades 13, 14 and 15 at 7%, and for grades 10, 11 and 12 at 10%.
We have taken the low-hanging fruits. The rest of issues will be completed in 1 month's time.
We have gotten a breakthrough that then makes me to tell our members that we have a deal. We have been striking and we have struck until we have stricken a deal.
Other complaints will be implemented in the next 1 month.
We are happy that in the history of strikes in the university sector, this was the shortest.
Kericho County Governor Wairimu has been recognized as a strong candidate for the national leadership position in the upcoming general election. During the G7 strategy activation event in Kericho County, 6 governors, deputy governors, county women representatives and senior government officials endorsed Wairimu's suitability for a higher office, citing her impressive contributions to the county and her leadership at the COG.
We want you to be our Harris Kamala. Sindio? Akwe Kamala wetu. Ndio. Sisi kama kina mama tunasema baada ya miaka yako 10 ambayo unaenda kumaliza, tunakutaka na wewe ukuje Kenya, ufike Mombasa, ufike kila mahali.
Ulisema ya kwamba you have an ambition ya kwenda mbele, si ndio? Nani anataka Wairimu asikuwe na ambition? Si ni vizuri awe na ambition?
Homa Bay Governor Gladys Wanga emphasized Wairimu's selfless service, stating that once her term concludes, she should transition to national leadership in any capacity.
Sasa gavana mama akitoka hapa Kirinyaga, atuachie mama mwingine hapa Kirinyaga ndio aendelee kuwa governor hapa Kirinyaga. We are going to aim higher and have after next election, we want to see at least 24 women governors.
Sudan's army launched artillery and airstrikes in Sudan's capital in its biggest operation to regain ground there since early in its 17-month war, with the rapid support forces, witnesses and military sources claim now the push by the army, which lost control of most of the capital at the start of the conflict, came ahead of an address by its commander, General Abdel Fattah el-Burhan, at the United Nations General Assembly in New York late in the day. Now, witnesses reported heavy bombardments and clashes as army troops tried to cross bridges across the Nile, connecting the 3 adjoining cities that make up the greater capital, Khartoum, Omdurman and Bari. This is Newsweb. Dennis Asha. Good morning.
.5 SpiceFM, Kisumu.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
If a lion shows you its teeth, it doesn't mean it likes you.
It doesn't mean it likes you. It wants tax. A liar calls as witness one who is either dead or far away. Say it in Kiswahili.
Ben low, nin inte, nin there, you markati kadikta. You know this character called liar. He has disturbed people. So when you tell him who are your witnesses, he will take you to a place where it is difficult to verify.
For someone like me who sweats a lot, I cannot survive there. Sweating is biblical. Good. And you must blame it on Adam, not me. Because Adam messed up and he was told, no, you fellow, you, by the sweat of your brow, thou shalt eat.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you very much, Eric, and it's good to be at the Situation Room.
Always a pleasure coming here. This is the most challenging interview panel in Kenya. You guys are very well informed, and as you can see, Charles today, very philosophical.
To be poor in this country is the greatest sin you can commit, not just from a legal perspective, but from life generally. It is very, very skewed.
We've just heard on the floor of Parliament, just most recently, a leader within the ODM saying that Sisi ni ng'ombe is a baba.
Yeah.
Which means that you are willing to be milked dry.
You cannot force me to believe. I'll give way. If it's land that I'm told to return to you, I will. Okay? Because the court has said so. But I'll continue saying, watu wamenirusha. That's all that I'm doing.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
If you go out of this country and come back the same person, then you have a problem. Buy land, 1 million. Put it there for 5 years. What's the purpose?
It'll have increased in value.
No, that's the thing. That's darkness. That's an eclipse. You don't do that.
I hope you don't believe that a hustler is a poor person, or that all hustlers are poor. I've seen that conversation.
Tell us, who is a hustler?
Who's a hustler? Hustler is a person who is making a living through hard work.
Corruption in Kenya is a political accusation. The people who are actually corrupt are not pointed fingers at.
Kenya is not free. Kenya imeshikwa na mateka. It's under siege.
Have you seen that lodge on Nyeri Road? Very high fence. You can't even
Windows
sleep inside.
up near the ceiling.
Yes. And if you walk there at midnight, you see bats the size of cows.
And when it rains, it doesn't rain on that building.
Yes.
When you're at All Saints and it's raining, it doesn't rain on that building.
The things people will believe.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Okay, yes, actually, it is Friday, and let's take a look at what's happening on these streets as you get into the weekend proper. Okay, a little bit of traffic is what we're seeing on the Thika Superhighway. It's not going to be too crazy for now, though. It's inbound traffic to the CBD, and just on the low, nothing too much going on. All right, a quick look at coming out of Westerns. We're all right here. Coming off of Langata Road, we will see some traffic around Magadi Road. We're already seeing the beginnings of that right about now. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE and keep things moving through the day. Hashtag the Situation Room.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
It is Friday. Yes?
Yeah.
It is the final Friday of September.
Hallelujah.
To make a funga.
To make a funga.
It's like that.
Yeah.
Friday, the 27th of September 2024. How you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. Good morning.
Good morning to me.
Yes, please. Yep.
Uko fiti?
Unaonaje?
Mimi naona vile unakaa fiti.
Bas. Kama unaona hivyo, it must be true.
Ati, what's your t-shirt written? It's never too late to be.
To fall in love. You are never too important to be nice to people.
Oh, I told you that. Remember?
You told me.
Remember?
Then I went and made a t-shirt. Okay.
Been there, done that, got the t-shirt. Right?
Got it.
Yeah. Very good message for Friday.
Sindio? Gotcha. Kwa salama lakini?
Mimi niko poa. Ninamshukuru Mwenyezi Mungu.
Hallelujah.
Ninapenda yeye.
Hallelujah.
Na yeye napenda mimi.
Amina.
Vile mambo yalivyo. Okay?
Yes.
Haya, sasa leo, hii Friday,
tell me.
Iko mambo mingi. Mambo ya kwanza. Mambo ya
kwanza.
Ni jambo la kwanza. We shall discuss the challenges of addiction and rehabilitation in Kenya, and looking at how that then also impacts how addiction impacts mental health. Yeah? Because it's a big thing. And we'll be joined by an addictions prevention and rehabilitation champion called Boniface Ndirango. He'll be here at 7 a.m. for that conversation. He himself has says what's the term they use? He's been a number of years sober.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he's an addict.
20-something years sober.
Yeah.
So I don't know, do they use it in present or past?
Yeah, apparently they still use it.
Okay.
Because they realize that any day you could go back.
Yeah. So he'll come and tell us what is happening countrywide, right? He's also been a past chairperson of the Addiction Prevention and Rehabilitation Association or something of Kenya. He'll tell us also about that. And then at 8 o'clock, so yesterday there was a requiem service for the children who burnt and died in a fire at Ednah.
Yeah.
Let's bring back the issue of fire safety in the country. You know, there are several laws,
Yeah.
Laws on safety. When it comes to safety, which particular laws actually address safety and fire safety and what we need to do, right, to prevent fires or to address fire issues?
Yeah.
Wilson Okoh is an advocate of the High Court of Kenya and is a fire safety auditor. He is a licensed fire person. He'll come and give us, the regulatory and the legal framework in Kenya, how fire is handled by the law of the country. And then at 9 a.m., Senate apparently has no pesa.
Hakuna.
I spoke to a couple of senators and I'm actually saying, we don't have money. I'm actually funding my trip to you going where? Pesa hakuna.
What does that mean?
Money has not been released. Money from Treasury has not come to the Senate. The thing is, it's the Senate. National Assembly members are not saying the same thing.
Counties are saying they've not received money. National Assembly has not complained about not receiving money. Senators are now saying they don't have money. So one must ask, what's going on?
That's a very good question. That question may be answered by Dan Manzo, who is a senator for Makueni County, when he comes at 9 a.m. Yes?
Okay.
Yeah, because what is this? If the National Assembly and the Senate both operate with the Parliamentary Service Commission, so why is one chamber having any and the other doesn't have?
It's not having.
It's 6:15. We're live streaming the show as we always do everywhere on YouTube and Facebook and X. And if you are on those platforms, say hello. We will be saying hello to the YouTube and Facebook audience shortly. We also acknowledge you if you're on SpiceFM. Habari yako? Mzuri? Very good.
The Situation Room, the only way to start your day. The weather with SpiceFM.
15 degrees clear conditions in Nairobi. We'll see highs of 27 and lows of 13. Highs of 25 and lows of 13 in a clear Nakuru. And highs of 26 and lows of 15 in a mostly cloudy Nyeri at 16. It's 12 degrees and clear in Eldoret. Highs of 23. And we're looking into a cloudy Mombasa at 23 with highs of 30. Highs of 30 as well and lows of 24 is what we'll see in Malindi today, where it is currently 25 degrees. 19 and clear in Kisumu with highs of 30. And into Kakamega, it's clear at 17, going to highs of 29. 80 degrees and clear conditions in Kampala with highs of 30, while Dar es Salaam at 24 is mostly sunny. We'll see highs of 30 and lows of 23. Johannesburg is cloudy at 10 with highs of 26, and we're looking into a partly sunny Mogadishu at 25, going to highs of 30, 11 degrees, and partly sunny in Addis Ababa with highs of 21. It's mostly cloudy at 25 in Lagos with highs of 30, and into a rainy Kinshasa this morning, it's 23 degrees, going to highs of 32. Beijing Friday afternoon is cloudy at 22 with highs of 25, and Paris at 12 is cloudy with highs of 16. It's 12 degrees and cloudy in London, highs of 14 and lows of 6, and it's mostly cloudy at 23 in New York Thursday night. Coming into Friday, it'll be just that, highs of 23 and lows of 20.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Joe Mungai says, good morning. Happy... Hello, Spice family. Ndu, ask Baba Latiff. But ask Baba Latifa to relate the current happenings in Kenya to the story of Simon Makonde.
Simon Makonde was born on Monday. He was baptized on Tuesday. It's a 7-day journey. Right?
Oh, it's actually a thing?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a story. I'll look for it. I'll tell you by the end of this.
By the end of this session?
Yes.
Very good. Very nice. So Don says, it is never and will never be easy to dump a deputy. They are bound is what you're looking for, at the hip. Just watch this space. Ni vipin... I can't do that word.
Vipindre. How do you song Kore?
Apparently not. How are you enjoying, Eric? Say fine.
Fine.
Good. Good morning, everybody. Now, Apenda Sana wishing you a blessed day. Carol Nyambura, we see you, sister. Good morning. Last weekend in September, summer bunnies tumeanza kujipanga. Really, Sky? Sawa. Peter Kiari is tuning from Mombasa. Sir George
wanamwagika hapa kama mvua.
Ni kama.
Very good. Tunawangoja. Kuja na madaras. Kama hamna daras, msikuje hapa kama mna daras. Please.
Kuja na daras, please. Robert Subogo is tuning from Mombasa. Rochester, Minnesota is where Tano Teka is. And he's saying, Chief? That's the question. Where's Chief? Well, shift to you too. Rose Grace is tuned in and says, good morning. Good job you're doing. Asante Sana, my sister. Anthony Karanja is tuned in and is tuned in from the real Dallas.
Okoh. Ilea, Texas. Not in Dallas, Matu. Okay.
Which
not
incidentally I have been to.
Dallas, Matu.
Yes, several times. Don't ask why. Moving along swiftly. Tibbs Muga says, good morning. This Technopolis ball, why does it smell already? Would it not be better to have or avoid concentrating such big projects to one area? Yeah, it's a question. DP impeachment is a diversionary tactic from this Adani hot potato issue, says Sir George. You've seen like that? Jimmy Gakio says, good morning, Kenya and beyond. Onganyi Malala says, greetings to everybody. J1 Guy is also tuned in this morning and says, Kenya kweli kwisha. Oi!
Oh, yeah.
Stella S says, good morning. I hope there's some good news today. Well, let's look for it. We'll let you know. Rachel Wajiro says, good morning. Eric and Nduyani, how can leaders go to Endarasha to do politics in the midst of the pain? I know that was really low moment, in my opinion.
That's what they were doing?
Yes, they did.
What if I get
from Eugene Wamalwa to Galonzo Musyoka, all of them having some silly conversations. I'm telling you, it was annoying. Chris Maura says, good morning. Fred Okumu says, good morning as well. Agri Momanyi, good morning. Quick recovery to my brother Johnson Kimani, who was involved in an accident and currently recuperating at Aga Khan Hospital. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Oh, yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Prayers up for him, and he'll come out of it brand spanking new. My prince says, good morning. No matter things that matter to us now, Shif Adani deals, extension of elected leaders' terms, and impunitive horticultural bill. The rest is drama. Okay. Jimmy Gakia, we see you. Good morning. George Okoth, greetings to you. Owen Nyoka says, good morning. Eliana Yabesh says, I love Mondays and hate Fridays because of you guys. Meaning, we start the week together and then we have to end it and not see you till Monday. Don't worry. Another Monday will come. Camaro says, time flies. Just the other day, you said Happy New Year to every person in the studio. I'm proud how consistently I've listened to you guys. Well, you know what? That's amazing. And thank you for being here every morning. It does make it a lot better for us. Somebody was butchering my name. Who is that person?
Butcher.
Irene. Let's come for them.
The butcher.
It's Ndu. Gosh, sorry, Ndu, butchering your name. Somebody has butchered. Stop butchering. Okay, we see you guys. Bernard, we see you. Meshach Njenga is also here. Sharpan Moore says, good morning to everybody. Jacqueline Isanda is also here. Chris Kadwong says, good morning. John Nene. Okay, it might be some, but in Nigeria we say Nene. So I've decided it is Nene. Eda Tatu says, good morning, Eric. Ndu, keep up the feminine genius. I would have loved to meet you, but you were not on duty when I was interviewed on mental health. Are you serious? Dr. Eda, come back.
Akuje bwana.
Rudy. Yeah. Bernard Okello has decided that Eugene Wamalwa is the new spokesperson for the fourth president, Uhuru Kenyatta. That's okay. Okay. Well, good morning, everybody. Karibuni Sana. Lydiah, Avin, Frank. Good morning, oh. Well done. They've waved.
Very good.
Yeah.
Yes. So say their names again.
Lydiah. Avin. Frank.
There's Asha.
Where's Asha?
Akopa.
Yeah. You're just hiding with your beauty inside there in the corner. What's wrong with you? Shine like a diamond.
So go to our socials. You'll see their photos.
Yes, you'll see.
We have exposed them.
They're just hiding behind the scenes.
We have exposed them today.
4 of them hiding behind the scenes.
Yeah. So apparently in the news, yesterday there was G7, G8 launch in Kirinyaga. And there's a clip that Dennis Asato has played where there were women saying, we want Waigoro to be our next... Let me see, look at it.
Please be very careful the next things that you say. Regia.
Haris Kamara.
No, they did not.
Waigoro will be our next what?
Haris Kamara.
Yes.
Kill me now. Why? Do they know who that is?
Haris Kamara. Of course. You don't know. The proverb this week. The proverbs have been from Senegal. Today's Senegalese proverb is... Are you ready for it?
I don't know.
If you're ready for it. If you speak to him who understands you. If you speak to him who what?
Understands you.
Yes. You get it?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah,
that's why I spoke. That's why I spoke.
Okay.
Because I knew you'd understand me.
That's otherwise he would not have spoken.
I wouldn't waste my saliva. Headlines, tafadhali.
On the front page of the Standard, Lydiah, take it away. DP's allies face arrest as coup claim emerges. 5 allies of embattled DP Gachagua are staring at a date with justice after investigators linked them to allegedly planning, mobilizing and financing Gen Z protests, even as Interior CS claims plotters took advantage of demos in a bid to overthrow the president. Where? They've said even DCI.
Storm in a teacup.
Bull in a china shop. Well, let's see. MPs demand answers on 104 billion shilling health system deal. As you people are saying that they should register for Shifa and Shah, they're talking about, wait a minute, don't go with this deal. So you must question yourself. Or rather, you must question what is going to happen come the 1st of October, which is Tuesday, and everybody's supposed to have migrated to the new system.
Well, already, those who are salaried, their pay has been deducted at 2.5%. And the employer is supposed to direct this thing to this new thing.
To where?
I don't know, actually.
There's nowhere.
This new thing. There's a where?
There's a new thing.
There's a SHA.
The system where the SHA is, it's still in limbo.
MPs just talk too much.
Okay.
They don't know. They don't understand.
MPs don't understand.
They don't get it.
Whoa, low. Whoa, low. Back to class. Don's 2.4 billion shilling pay rise deal. Learning to finally resume in public universities after the government struck a pay deal with the striking lecturers. Now, you can strike a deal and you can pay. Those are two totally different things. Let's wait and see if they'll actually be paid. But in the meantime, they've done what? They've gone back to school.
Yes.
Emotions high for Lost Angels of Asha. It was a very emotional service yesterday to just watch. And I mean, just look at the parents of these children and to think that you sent your child on the 27th of August in the third term of the year.
Yeah.
And you will never see them again.
That's it. It is so painful.
I was heartbroken over and over again.
So painful.
Just watching that. Yeah. And then it tore me to pieces to see that it was then used as a political platform. I just couldn't. I couldn't handle it.
Yeah, these people are so uncouth.
It's ridiculously terrible.
They're so uncouth.
I couldn't.
Chumachao Kimatoni.
Just terrible. And when all of that is happening, as though you can't do the best with what you have in the time that you have it, a new bid to increase the presidential term is now floating in the atmosphere. And it's being raised by Nandi Senator Samson Cherargei.
Huyo alikuwa hapa juzi?
Yes.
The one who was telling us that this whole even needs as the diversionary
power.
So him is focusing on the work that
he has to do. Increasing the presidential term to 7 years.
We shall summon him back here.
He needs to tell us what's wrong with him.
That's the thing about Cherargei. He does something that gets him, endears him to the public. Then the next thing,
opposite.
Down south. Anyway,
because what is that?
Trendale.
On the front page of The Nation, following in quick succession, the UAE link in the Ruto Adani 485 billion shilling deal. Doesn't these numbers that we've been hearing recently, doesn't it do your head in?
485 billion shillings.
Doesn't it do your head in?
Wow.
Remember yesterday I told you that 15 billion shillings, if you had 15 billion shillings today, that you would spend 54,000 shillings every day for the next 50 years. Now, my friend, 485 billion. Do the math if your head doesn't knock. Since President William Ruto and his Kenya Kwanza administration took office 2 years ago, Kenya and the UAE have been forging even closer business ties with new revelations of the Emirati royal family's link to Indian conglomerate Adani Group, which has been awarded multi-billion shilling contracts. In other words, you people are shouting because of Adani. They're basically telling you that other things have been happening. It's just that you people didn't know. You get it?
Yani, there's more.
There's more.
It's not 100. It's 485 billion. Neza zawa ending.
Kalonzo defends Gachagua amidst ouster onslaught. This is the defending that he was doing when we were supposed to be burying our children in Nyeri County yesterday. So he says that they will not, don't worry. Me, as Kalonzo, I got you. They won't impeach you.
We will not allow.
Where he's gatching him
Kalonzo said we will not allow that finance bill to pass.
That's what he said.
His MPs voted for the finance bill.
So now, his MPs.
So Kalonzo
he says him.
If Gachagua looks at that guy and says, I've got some votes.
There's even a picture of Gachagua looking at him like that already.
Giving that kind of look of,
You do what? You what? Cover up fears as Endorasha pupils buried is what's on the front page. And I have to go with this to a certain extent because why do we not know what happened?
Yeah.
Why don't we know what happened?
Yeah.
Looking at the tickers, 720 million shilling job scam firm has its license revoked. Well, it's about time. Lecturers, other public varsity staff end strike and go back to school. And there's an interesting story here, which I'm very sure all my male friends and their cousins and uncles will be happy with.
Even women.
Even
I'm
women,
sure.
I am sure. Even women. Don't force monogamy on me. Christian man wants changes to the law.
Very good.
But
Which
just
law?
because we're in a Christian marriage, it doesn't mean I have to be monogamous. Why can I too not marry a second wife?
Very good. Open it up.
We shall look at it.
All right.
Uneasy silence as the tragedy of 21 Hillside boys are buried. That's what's on the back page.
Okay.
And yeah.
Let's go to the Business Daily, shall we?
Let's do it.
In the Business Daily, Kenya eyes UAE-backed 193 billion shilling debt as IMF delays. Kenya has turned to a UAE-backed $1.5 billion bond in the wake of the IMF funding hitch to plug the country's financing shortfall as the Royal Emiratis seek a wider influence in Africa. So the Emiratis are saying, you want money? Yeah? Habibi, forget IMF.
Habibi, no
Habibi, forget IMF. Habibi, forget China. Habibi, come. I give you money. I give you money.
Wallahi.
Wallahi. And mine is no interest. All right? It's Sharia compliant. Okay?
Where?
Hiya. Ticker headlines: delays in repairing leaking fuel pipe disrupt flights at JKIA. There were delays in repairing a leaking pipe that takes jet fuel to the underground tanks used to refuel airlines. That was behind the flight disruptions at JKIA yesterday morning. There was some leak. Mafuta ilikuwa inaingia kwa underground. Okay?
What?
So the people who were completely need yesterday. Spam emails cost Kenyan banks in privacy breaches. The Office of the Data Protection Commissioner has yet again sided with a Kenyan whose complaints for receiving emails in error from a commercial bank were ignored. Oh yes, very good. So you've been receiving emails that belong to somebody else into your inbox. You tell the bank, wait, people,
stop sending me this stuff, man.
Yeah. You are supposed to be sending this to Nduko at Gmail. I am Ndu Okoh at Gmail. Okay? They're like, wewe ni nani? Ndu Okoh. Na tumetumia nani? Nduko.
Tofauti ni nini?
Tofauti ni? Kuna O hapo katikati. Si tuko na O hapa Nduko. Now, Madam Immaculate Kasait, in a new determination, the Data Commissioner has ordered Family Bank to pay Jackson Irongo 250,000 shillings after being found liable for breaching his privacy rights by continuously sending him emails despite not having an account with them and subsequently ignoring his complaints. This coming just days after the same office ordered SBM Bank to pay another person 450,000 shillings for a similar complaint, signals a growing regulatory crackdown on banks which ignore user complaints for breach of their privacy as the recently established laws continue to challenge age-old norms among Kenyan corporates. Bas.
Okay.
Kasait said the bank should have ensured that any inaccurate personal data in its custody is erased or rectified without delay. The respondent, that's Family Bank, erroneously captured its customer's email address, leading to the sending of several emails to the complainant's email address. Sasa wakaambiwa, listen, you are supposed to be sending to Nduko. You've been sending to Ndu Okoh. Hiyo ni shauri yenu. Pendu.
Stop it.
They should actually do that.
Yes. You see?
Your chance at 450k.
Just like that.
As in, are you sure you haven't?
Friday?
Able check your emails.
Wait, it's very possible.
Able check your emails, by the way.
It's very possible.
Check your
People
emails.
have sent me a lot of stuff because they think I am
there
not.
You go.
Do you know I could be very rich by the end of the day?
I am telling you.
Wait a minute. See, we're going on a break soon.
Yes.
Check my email.
Very good.
Just now.
Very good. We have the Star today, and the front page photo in the Star is a sorrow as Endarasha fire victims are remembered. Now, the painful picture of these caskets and the photos of these kids. Oh my God. And the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua addressing mourners during the memorial service for the Hillside Endarasha Academy fire victims in Muga, Nyeri County yesterday. Innovative research. Researchers add value to create wine and cake from invasive madenge weed. Madenge is the very, 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 very bad weed. It was introduced in Baringo. They thought that it would help in covering the ground and holding ground cover. The bloody thing just grows and develops. And then when goats eat it, they lose their teeth.
Get out of here.
They took a case to court a couple of years ago, and witness number one was a goat.
No, it was not.
For real.
I absolutely refuse.
Check the news.
No way.
Witness number one was a goat.
Excuse me?
And they said, goat, do you swear? I said, the judge was like, that's enough. That's enough. The entire mouth of the goat is a diastema. This Madenga thing, that's enough. I've seen enough. Now, researchers are saying this thing, despite all its nonsensical bad things, we can actually create wine out of madenge.
To drink.
And we can make cake out of madenge.
If a goat had
You take wine and cake. Next.
A hardy animal.
Have they done human trials, clinical trials on this thing?
First of all, I'm still on the goat in court.
Check Google. Google there. Madenge case goat. Google, you'll see photo. As I continue to go it. Free to buy. Relief for governors as bill barring them from MP and MCA races withdrawn. No Kenyan is paid for COVID vaccine side effects, reports by Pharmacy Board reveals. Top right-hand corner in this burnt brown is Siasa. Shah, a real game changer to most ordinary Kenyans. Bang in the middle of the paper. But lines drawn. 250 MPs from Kenya Kwanza and Azimio have signed the ouster petition. DP Regade, a dead man walking as D-Day fixed. Impeachment motion against Embattled Gachagua could be tabled on Tuesday. What? Can you imagine? Ubana, sorry.
Nimeona kweli.
Scroll uone kama kwa kona picha hiyo mbuzi. Ama go to images. Google and go to images. You'll see. You don't think I'm joking. As you do that, let me tell you about the Nairobian. We have the Nairobian today as well, and also we have the East African, don't we? Haya. Well, hiyo East African ya last week kama ni ya next week.
East African, unasoma East African?
Inatoka Sunday.
Inatoka Sunday for the week. Sasa hii
Haya.
mwisho.
Yeah. Haya. The Nairobian. Dead end. Gold scam suspect fails to reclaim luxury cars seized by the state. Court's caretaker's wife burned me with hot tea. A tenant has gone to court to say, bibi ya caretaker alinimwagilia chai moto.
Kwani bibi anaishi? Okay.
Caretaker anaishi hapo.
Na bibi?
Na bibi yake.
Okay.
Sasa tenant sijui alikuwa kwa nyumba ya caretaker. I don't know. We will look at the story. Sin City Chronicles, high octane in pipelines, Hakuna Kulala economy. This pipeline estate in Nairobi. Hakuna Kulala. Hakuna Kulala. Ingoho madness, why black chicken in Mulembe Nation is linked to bad omen. They actually look at that. Black chicken. It's not just in Mulembe Nation.
Even black cat.
Yes. They have a controversial headline here. Page 22, steamy affair. Should you send nudes? Sometimes it signals trust.
In who?
In both of you. When people are sending each other nudes, it signals trust.
Oh, God. Okay.
Is it false trust? That's a question. Owners, how can Africa improve its performance for LA 2028? Bang in the middle of the Nairobian this week. Carrying on cross. County boss turns to God, pleads with MCAs to show mercy. This is the story of Kericho Governor Eric Mutai, who is facing an impeachment motion. And one of the accusations that's been tabled in the County Assembly of Kericho regards some weird sex scandal. Governor Mutai denies weird sex scandal. The impeachment plot had been gathering heat as MCAs schemed to dethrone the county boss for alleged gross misconduct. The damning charges leveled against him include exhibiting strange sexual behavior. That's one of the counts. He exhibits strange sexual behavior. And they even say, the MCAs, that they have a witness who will appear in camera on the day of the impeachment hearings. Yep. They have a complainant. That's what they're saying. Governor Mutai is like,
surely. I have a wife and children.
Surely.
And I need the job.
Surely.
Guys, I'm sorry.
First of all, how do we define strange? Strange by whose standard?
Whose standard?
20 minutes to 7. Let's take a look at traffic.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Okay, so a little busyness in the city this morning. Coming off the Thika Superhighway, we always start there as our port of call because it sometimes does get messy. But this Friday, actually not too bad. We're not looking at too much coming off of the Thika Superhighway. A little bit of traffic coming off of Langata Road. And then you'll get into the city without a problem at all. There's a little bit of traffic also starting to build right around Muthaiga Square. So we're going to keep an eye on that and see how it all progresses. Let's see what Friday pans out to be as we get closer to traffic hour. And we'll talk on SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Sasa unataka nianze wapi?
Tops.
Everything is tops.
Pick one top.
Hey. Okay. So 485 billions.
What?
It's a big number.
What?
Since President William Ruto and his Kenya Kwanzaa administration took office 2 years ago, Kenya and the UAE have been having a bromance. Okay, that's not what it says. Have been forging even closer business ties with new revelations of the Emirati royal family's links to Indian conglomerate Adani Group, which has been awarded multi-billion shilling contracts. So this is not the first one. It's been a habit, and it seems like it is doing what? It's continuing. So let's look at some of that, shall we? Mr. D, you know who he is. He's William Ruto's. Yes, Dr. D. He's President William Ruto's economic advisor. He posted a story on his X handle announcing a cash injection by Abu Dhabi's international holdings company into Adani Group, the Indian conglomerate behind the controversial proposals to take over key national assets, including the JKIA. Dr. D did not make any further comment on his post, which came after revelations that his wife, Mwende Katabaki, is a shareholder in one of the companies that have been awarded a contract to implement the universal healthcare IT system at a cost of 104 billion shillings. Now, the post, however, put a controversial Emirati royal at the center of the 485 billion shilling deals that India's Adani Group is angling for in different sectors of Kenya's economy under President Ruto's administration. Tahnoon bin Zayed Al Nahyan, also known as the Spy Sheikh.
Nice.
Isn't it? I can just see it now. The Spy Sheikh. And then the winds are blowing on the dusty plains. And he's wearing shades. You can see.
Yes. Continue.
Is the son of Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan, the founder of the UAE and majority shareholder and chairman of the IHC. Now, Tahnoon's brother Khalid bin Mohammed bin Saeed Al Nahyan is the United Arab Emirates Crown Prince.
Yes.
More specifically, his brother is the UAE ruler.
There you go.
Do you see the connection?
Tahnoon's bro is the boss of the UAE.
Exactly.
They are both sons of the founder of the UAE.
Exactly.
Pesa mengi. Pesa.
Now, Tahnoon's brother, Khalid bin Mohammed Al Zayed Al Nahyan. Don't worry about the many ones.
Just know there's been something.
Been somebody.
To been someone else.
If it's been, they belong to the father. Tahnoon is the deputy ruler of Abu Dhabi, the capital city of the UAE, and his brother's national security advisor. Can you see the connection?
Yes.
Now, the latter role earned him the monikers Spy Sheikh, as Tahnoon has for years ruthlessly cracked down on alternative voices in and outside the UAE, waging cyber warfare against anyone that dares speak against his brother's regime. But for Kenyans, Tahnoon is now one of the silent architects of 3 controversial deals which, if signed and implemented, could impact the lives of over 50 million people for the next 3 decades in health, in transport and energy sectors. Those are big deals, my friend. The government has for months secretly negotiated with foreign firms the contracts worth 485 billion. Now, IHC is a public joint stock company registered in the UAE. Tahnoon owns 61.1% of it through his PAL group of companies. He serves as the chairman of the board of IHC.
IHC is the one that has shares in what?
IHC has shares. IHC is a public joint stock company
International Holdings Company.
Yes, International Holdings Company.
Which
and they
has shares in those Adani things.
Yes. It has, I can't remember the number, but it does have quite a significant number of shares in Adani Group. Okay. And they are seen to be the ones who have pumped in a significant amount of funding into Adani.
Okay.
Okay? Now, IHC is the common denominator in all three deals in the Kenya Airports Authority, Social Health Authority, and Kenya Electricity Transmission Company that have raised controversy on the account of the secretive nature of their negotiation and the involvement of some of the key shareholders in past financial scandals. The UAE royal will, by virtue of his close links to the Adani Group, get a slice of the billions expected from the three controversial deals. Because he's a majority share what?
Holder.
In 2021, Kenya was among several countries that implemented partial economic shutdowns to counter the COVID-19 virus. Now get this. Dinlas Pharma, a local firm owned by health sector entrepreneur Jayesh Saini, got a license to administer the controversial Russian COVID-19 vaccine dubbed Sputnik 5. A few weeks later, Russia's Moscow Times revealed that the Emirati royal family had secured a deal to distribute the vaccine across the world. The publication's investigation indicated that the batch Mr. Saini had brought in was delivered from the UAE. The Russian government denied supplying the product in Kenya, raising questions as to whether Mr. Saini's Dinlas Pharma sourced the vaccine from. Kenya later revoked approvals that had been given to Dinlas Pharma to import the vaccine. 3 years later, the Emirati royal is entangled in a controversial deal that has links to Mr. Saini. So it is not today, 2024, that they started working together. It has been...
It's been there for a while.
Okay. We go on into the Safaricom conundrum and then into public outcry, as in terms of what
everything else.
But just so you know, a long time coming, negotiations have been done, deals have been struck. It's not just the airports that you guys are looking at where there is conversations around this. It is in major sectors in the economy: health, energy, transport. These guys are here. It doesn't look like they're going anywhere. Yeah.
Salala. Hiya. Let me get you into this story, which is on page 2 of the Daily Nation. It's an important one. It's an important public conversation and public debate.
Hear.
But let's start with the third one. The third one is the family of a businessman who was killed by gunmen on Tuesday outside the gate to his house in Nairobi's Parklands had received death threats a week to his murder. 36-year-old Sagar Panara was shot by two gunmen who were on a motorcycle at around 9 p.m. as he was about to enter his home on Kusi Lane. After shooting him, the assailants then placed leaflets next to his body, purporting to send a warning shot for his murder. Panara was confirmed dead at the Aga Khan Hospital in Nairobi, where he was rushed. His assailants appear to have been trailing him as he drove home from a business meeting at the Members Club in Nairobi. Yesterday's police sources told the nation that a relative of Panara had a parcel containing a severed goat.
Yeah?
A relative of Panara had a parcel containing a severed goat head delivered to his office in Nairobi 7 days before the murder. A source close to the family told the nation that the Panara family was embroiled in a land tussle with some individuals who want a prime property in Narok. The family has a piece of land in Narok which is being targeted by some land grabbers. The motive of the killing of the manager at an IT solution firm, though, was not immediately clear, although the leaflets left by the gunmen suggested the killing was linked to a land dispute. He had held the managerial position for 14 years, according to details published on the company's website. So the leaflets were reading, 1 Panara down. Vacate Narok land. Narok land belongs to Maasai.
Oh. Wow.
So they shoot the guy and they leave that leaflet. 1 Panara down. Vacate Narok land. Narok land belongs to the Maasai.
So it's clear what the intention is.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's so sad here. Okay, the other one. In the courts. A Kitale businessman is seeking legal recognition of polygamy in Christian marriages. Now, in a constitutional petition filed at the High Court, Boniface Koimburi Ndura wants Christians to be allowed to marry more than one wife. High Court presiding judge Justice Anthony Mrima is hearing the petition in which Mr. Ndura has challenged the Marriage Act of 2014 that restricts men in Christian, Hindu or civil marriages from practicing polygamy. The petition is expected to trigger a conversation on religious freedom, constitutional rights and the legal interpretation of marriage in Kenya. Ndura is not a 22-year-old guy. He is 78 years old and is a strong advocate of polygamy and author of a book titled Polygamist Will Also Go to Heaven. Okay. He has even written a book.
He set the case, man.
In his petition, he argues that the legal imposition of monogamy in Christian marriages is unconstitutional as it violates the religious freedoms and rights of those who practice or believe in polygamy based on their interpretation of the Bible. According to the petitioner, banning polygamy has significantly contributed to rising rates of single parenthood and divorce in Kenya. He views polygamy as a solution to these social challenges, offering a more stable family structure. Ndura, who married Anduta in a church ceremony at Sigei Catholic Mission Church in 1973, says he has been denied the opportunity to marry a woman with whom he has had children and support outside the framework of marriage. So he has another woman. They have children. But he cannot marry that woman. The marriage will not be recognized. You see? Because he had a Christian marriage, kitambo. The laws of Kenya say 3 marriage types are recognized: religious marriage, civil marriage, traditional marriage.
Yes.
If you enter into one, you cannot go into another one. If you're in a Christian marriage,
with one woman, you cannot get another.
If you're in a Christian marriage, it's Christian all the way. You cannot be in a Christian marriage and also on the other side have another second marriage that has you, because Christian is one wife, monogamy. So he's been denied his right. In his petition, he's challenging Section 171 of the Penal Code and Section 6, 8, 7 and 11 of the Marriage Act, which uphold monogamy in Christian marriages. He says these provisions not only violate Article 32 of the Constitution, which protects freedom of religion and belief, but also infringe upon Article 45, which guarantees the right to marry and find a family based on personal convictions. This is an interesting one. Just one. Interesting.
Do you know how many people right now are applauding?
This is an interesting one. Because if you think about it, like he's saying, everybody knows about my other woman. Everybody knows about my children. But the law doesn't know.
It will be very interesting to see what the courts have to say, because the petition has been taken if it's going to be raised. Many people I'm telling you, many people will be very happy with it. If you can just be allowed, and the law is saying and we will recognize.
Because legally, those other children are in a single parent home.
Yep, they are. And the guy wants to take care of them. Gen Z protests were designed to overthrow Ruto, Kindiki tells members of parliament. Did you know that?
Kindiki is the one who said it?
Yes, please.
Oh my God, let's hear it.
Let me tell you. The anti-government protests that rocked the country 3 months ago were designed to overthrow President William Ruto's administration, Interior Cabinet Secretary Kindiki has said. Kindiki made the remarks before a parliamentary committee to answer questions about the ongoing abductions and extrajudicial killings by police officers. So they asked him about the extrajudicial killings and the disappearances of people. He decided to answer the question by saying that the Gen Z protests were a bid to overthrow William Ruto's administration.
This was a government being responsible.
Yeah. So now, do you see how that answers the judicial killings and arrests?
The same kind of similar answer was given by President William Ruto in an interview with Christian Amanpour on CNN yesterday.
Yes.
He said, what we saw, first of all, Kenya is a very democratic country.
Yes, you didn't know.
People can express themselves anyhow. However, there were criminal elements. They invaded parliament. They invaded the office of the chief justice.
And they committed acts of treason.
And they committed acts of treason. And those ones, the security forces were within the responsibility to act.
Exactly.
Okay, continue.
He defended the use of force on protesters who breached parliament during the demonstrations, noting that it was necessary to protect the institution and avert a coup. He said, what happened in Kenya in June and July was unprecedented. For the first time, we came short of burning the country. I don't know if that's the first time. And destroying constitutional institutions, including parliament. There was an attempt to burn and attack other protected areas, such as the Supreme Court, because there was an attack on the office of the CJ. Those who had taken advantage of the protests had also intended to access State House and take it over unconstitutionally. He said, if we did not use force on that day, then we would have a different country right now. If we overthrow constitutional institutions such as parliament and the judiciary, then we will not have a country. Well, many would argue that with ongoings in the nation at the moment, you don't have a country now. The CS also argued that the protesters who breached parliament were intent on harming MPs. And he said, without defending my officers, I would like to say that the crowd that came to parliament was so massive that at some point they overpowered officers. In the process, officers trying to deal with these people could have shot someone. But they did. But they did. What do you mean could have?
In the process.
Oh, okay. During a sitting of the National Assembly Committee on Administration and Internal Security, Kindiki was pressed to explain the events surrounding June 25th, a lack of policy to deter abductions, excessive use of force on protesters, and the slow process of identifying officers behind the death of Kenyans exercising their rights. They asked the question, and his answer was, Gen Z protests were designed to overthrow Ruto. I'll answer those other questions,
Okay.
later.
Okay. So this is what they have established.
Yeah.
As the security operators in this country, they've established that what was happening in June and July was an attempt at overthrowing constitutional institutions. That is overthrowing the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya, right? If that is the finding, and in fact even the president using the word treason, what you'd expect now is to see that those who are committing those treasonous acts are brought to book. Right? Because then it's been 2 months. 2 months since there was an attempt at overthrowing the state. Because it's not about the government.
No.
It's about the state.
Yes.
Treason is an act that is threatening the state. And the state is established by the Constitution of Kenya. So treason is an act of overthrowing the Constitution, which the Constitution itself deems illegal. All sovereign power belongs to the people of Kenya and shall only be exercised through this Constitution. So if you overthrow the Constitution, then that is a serious crime. Very, very big crime. What we'd be expecting from the Cabinet Secretary and those below him is action, is to see the people who were behind treason then brought to book.
Where are they?
Publicly. Take them to the constitutional institution that deals with such matters.
Exactly.
The courts.
But this is not the first time, and I think that he's hesitant too, because this is not, when you demand a certain thing of a particular office, for him to make this announcement, just like you said, then bring the people to book. This is the same man who told us at some point that he's going to name the individuals in government who are behind the insecurity in the North Rift. Same gentleman. The same gentleman who told us he was going to sleep in the rift until the security issues had come to an end. That he didn't mind living in the northern parts of the country and in the rift until this came to an end. So in this case, why would we expect that he would do anything different, Eric? Why would we expect that he would say, okay, fine, treasonous acts were committed. You run the security apparatus of the country. You should be able to find them. Why can't you name them and bring them to book then if that was the case? If we're talking about toppling a constitutional institution and you cannot find who these individuals are? It's the same lackluster attitude that we see when it comes to dealing with officers who've shot innocent Kenyans or abducted innocent Kenyans or performed extrajudicial killings. Same.
Okay. This talk, it's okay. You can continue with it because you're playing politics with it, but it's expected that you shall do then what is expected when such matters happen. If there were treasonous activities and plotters in June and July in the Republic of Kenya, for God's sake, bring them to book. That is what the Constitution expects. That's what the oath of office of a Cabinet Secretary. I will protect and uphold the Constitution of Kenya. Kithure Kindiki, protect the Constitution then.
Yes.
Make sure that those people are brought to book. Otherwise, get out of office. It's 7 a.m. It's time for the news.
Spice up your life.
Good morning. This is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. President William Ruto is pushing for an overhaul of the structure of the United Nations Security Council, which he chides for failing to represent all people. During his address at the 79th session of the United Nations General Assembly, Ruto said the constitution of the Security Council has weakened efforts to maintain international peace and security. The head of state further argued that the lack of representation by African countries has left a large population disadvantaged.
The promise of the United Nations Charter to save succeeding generations from the scourge of war has been profoundly shaken. The world cannot realize durable peace, security, and shared prosperity when emphasis is being put on what divides rather than what brings us together. We must therefore promote approaches that support positive competition for all.
Members of Parliament have continued to defend the NGCDF even after it was outlawed by the court. KCS Member of Parliament Julius Ruto has said that NGCDF brought development to the grassroots.
Ilikuja ikalete usawa kimaendeleo kwa nchi zote za Kenya. Wakati ule mwingine awali maendeleo ilikuwa inaelekea mahali siasa ipo. Wengine walikuwa naumia. Wakati ule tulikuwa tunafanya marambe kujenga shule ya matope. Kama mnakumbuka, mimi sijasahau wakati marehemu Makto alikuwa anaishi, huyo ndio alikuwa kiongozi tunamtafuta, akuja atuchangie, alafu tukipata 80,000 tunajenga shule ya matope yenye mimi nilisomea shule yangu ya Tulwa Mwituni Primary. Lakini wakati CDF ilikuja tukaona mabadiliko na tena kwa usawa. Kwa kuwa CDF ilikuwa haiangalii chama, inaangalia mbunge, eneo bunge. NGCDF yenye nimewaelezea inasimamiwa na wananchi wenyewe. So kumaanisha public participation is unquestionable.
Nyayo Estate residents and property owners are now demanding government support and intervention against alleged illegal land grabbing by and non-private developers. Their residents claim there is unauthorized construction ongoing in their land and that they have received several threats of sexual abuse, causing anxiety among sections of the community.
Over the last few weeks, we have been trying to find out why they let a foundation be built on that same piece of land, and when we tried to ask and went to the grounds, there were goons. They hurled insults, they threw dead creatures, they did a whole lot of things, and even went ahead to threaten some of the ladies with rape.
We just want NSSF to go through with their contract, and give us what they promised, because this is one of the things that led us to buy property here.
With the grabbing of this 817, it is assumed right now that everybody who lives in Nyayo can be able to take their children to private school, which is far from the truth. We have some people who probably bought their property and then in the course of living there, they lost their jobs. So they can no longer take their children to private schools. So that is why we are agitating for the construction of this property, so that even children of people who do not have funds to take their children to private school can be able to do that.
The estate was conceptualized by the national government in 1998 and serves as a home to thousands of residents with a total of 4,774 housing units, serving as the biggest customers of the NSSF. The High Court in Nairobi has issued temporary orders barring the Office of the Directorate of Public Prosecutions from charging businessman Jimmy Wanjigi pending hearing and determination of a case filed. The court also last month granted Wanjigi relief after issuing orders barring his prosecution of allegations of illegal firearm possessions. Justice Mwamunye on August 20th ruled in favor of a former presidential candidate, stopping the ODPP from confiscating, retaining or interfering with any firearms registered to him. And 7 senior Kenya Power officials are facing charges related to economic crimes connected to the loss of over 150 million shillings at the state corporation. Harun Karisa, the former general manager of finance, and engineer Daniel Ochieng Muga, the former acting head of supply chain, are among the 7 individuals involved. The remaining suspects include engineers Dr. Noah Ogana Omondi, Joe Maura Njehia, and Evelyn Pauline Amondi, all of whom are former members of the Kenya Power's Tender Evaluation Committee. James Kericho and Bernard Muturi, the former members of the same committee, complete the list of the suspects. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
In the city this morning, it is busy. Let's take a look at what's happening. Coming off the Thika Superhighway, traffic is already starting to do its thing. It's heavy coming in from Survey through towards the Muranga Road at the Globe Cinema roundabout. And coming off Kiambu Road, actually heavy traffic as you approach Muthaiga Square. It's busy on Ring Road, Ngara, and as you're also trying to get into the CBD this morning. Let's take a look at Huru Highway, where some traffic is coming off through towards the city. And as you're coming off Mombasa Road, I think for now you're okay. A quick look at the Eastern Bypass shows us that traffic will build right about now. I'm heading through traffic hour. And on the other side of things, Langata Road, just a little bit of traffic. Ngong Road is also building up. So let's see what Friday has in store. And we'll talk and keep things moving. SpiceFM KE on X. Hashtag the Situation Room.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
It's Friday. It's the final Friday of September. Thank you for joining us. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. Wherever you are, if it's still Thursday where you are, it's okay. Friday is coming in a few hours. Yes. If you're about to end Friday, it's okay. We are still in Friday, right? Final Friday, September finally.
It's coming and going.
It's coming and going. The 5th Friday of September.
And there'll be a 5th Saturday and a 5th Sunday.
And the 5th Monday.
And the 5th Monday.
Hey, September, Buana.
You have tried.
What? Big one. We want to have a conversation. Our Health Friday conversation today is going to be approaching mental health from another side. And this is on the side of addiction. Addiction prevention and rehabilitation. Our guest is Boniface Dirango. He is an advocate and a champion for matters of addiction prevention and rehabilitation of those who are addicted. Boniface, good morning.
Good morning, Eric. Thank you very much for having me. I'm very good.
Good to have you here.
Asante sana.
Welcome back.
Asante.
You were here. The last time you were here was about a year ago or so?
Yeah. Maybe 1.5 years ago.
Yeah. 1.5.
Yeah.
That's not long.
Not long ago.
It's not so
long. I feel like I've been here because I watch you almost every other day.
So it's not every day?
So now we're going to take issue with that.
It's almost.
What are you doing on those other days that you're not watching us?
We must be your all your attention.
Yeah. By the way, I've thought if somebody was to study this SpiceFM, you can write a manifesto on what you need to do.
Wow. Yeah, true. Yeah, true. That's a very good idea. Yeah, it's a very good idea. They should think about that. Yep. Take that seriously. Now, Boniface, karibu sana.
Asante sana.
When it comes to communication in this country, and I know there are many people who reach out to you at odd times, and they just need help. Yep. They need you to help them too, because they are in a situation, they have been battling addiction, they are on the path to recovery, then maybe there's relapsing, then there's maybe family members, and all these things happen all the time. And sometimes you just want to call them back because the person who's calling you is at a position where they're not able to sustain a call. Now, you want to make sure that you're always able to call, right?
Yep.
You're always able to pick your phone and call. That means you have what? Airtime.
Yep.
You don't want to be out of airtime. Safaricom has a solution for you because there are many people who you have airtime in a katika at the wrong time. But tell him what Safaricom have done.
So that doesn't happen. You don't either get embarrassed or stranded or 1, 2, 3. Safaricom says, okay, how about we put all of these things together in a bundle that you can buy at the same time and ensure that your different modes of communication are in one place, one time for 30 days. You pay once, you talk, you browse, you connect, right? So if you dial *544#, you will go to the menu and you will see Go Monthly. Go Monthly, when you get onto that, you will see the all-in-one. That's what we're aiming for, all-in-one. Now, all-in-one has many different options, 500 shillings, 1,000 shillings. Let me take you to the 2,000 shillings, which, if you pay 2,000 bob for 30 days, you get 1,000 minutes of talking. 1,000 minutes of talking. You play around with that in your head.
What if it can do 1,000 minutes?
You can do 1,000 minutes.
Because you're talking to many people.
Oh yes, I
yeah?
do.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah,
1,000 minutes
yes.
in a month.
In a month,
yes. I do. This is the same as what we get on postpay.
Oh, see, now this is
similar.
This is kind of like that, but this is for prepaid, and it comes in a bundle.
Yeah.
So 1,000 minutes of talk time, you can get 2,000 SMSs, right?
Yep.
You can do your blasts across to everybody,
yep.
And then you get 17 GBs of data, as well as free WhatsApp, video calls, voice calls, messages, whatever it is, for 30 days. And the thing is that what you buy is freedom and peace of mind. Yep. So you can pick up your phone at any time and call, browse, text, whatever. And you don't have to think, oh my God, did I top up? No. You have done it a month ago or at the beginning of the month or whenever. You can make sure that your communication never gets a break with the all-in-one package from Safaricom. And today, if you do it today, Avin can give you 3,000 bob. If you take a screenshot of the payment that you've made, send it to our social, SpiceFM KE, DM, Avin will give you 3,000 shillings.
Evo. At the end of the day today. So I have the proverb for you. City says hi.
Good. I missed him, by the way.
He's taken a couple of days off, but he left us with the proverbs. He says, this week the proverbs have been from Senegal. We have our final proverb from Senegal today. It says, if you speak to him who understands you. If you speak to him who understands you. What's your interpretation?
Yeah, that's a nice one, huh? I'll take cue from that and not speak to stones. People will not listen. You waste your energy. You repeat things that, and the results will always be the same. So I'm taking the advice. So I'll try and keep myself to those who can listen. Ama,
you have to identify that this person is not just listening but understanding.
Yes,
it is speak to those who understand you.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
So you've got to learn people basically and know this one. I want them to understand.
Yeah.
So I've got to speak in a language that they'll understand. Right.
Really good.
Yeah. So, paint for us the picture of addiction in this country. When you talk about addiction, what are we referring to? It's addiction to what?
Addiction actually is defined as an obsession of the mind and a compulsion to behave that has a spiral effect that is always going downwards. So despite the negative consequences of behavior, after an obsession of the mind and compulsion to behave, despite all the consequences, they are always repeating. They're in a loop of negative outcomes and still continuing with it. And inability to get out of that loop. That's what we consider as addiction. And
so obsession of the mind, break that down a bit.
So today's Friday.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a good day. You see, it's even called Furahi Day. Sorry. In the afternoon, Eric, if you walk around town, the air even smells different. Yeah? The people, you can see there is a certain mood, a certain thinking, and a certain preparation for the evening.
Yes.
That is coming, is going to descend this afternoon. And for some people, it starts as early as now, preparing for a weekend. Where they are going to put aside the job. So it is in the mind, the obsession of an alcoholic walking around town, or a person who is developing a problem, or a person who has already habituated and is beginning to his social life and his way of living has already started with alcohol. Then you see there is an obsession of the mind. And look, that's all they're looking for. And for some people, we can't become what they live for. Yeah.
And what are we talking about now? To be in a social environment or to actually consume alcohol and drugs? What are we talking about here?
Oh,
because I can be around people and
and you're looking forward to just being around
people.
Atmosphere,
Yes.
the vibe.
Exactly. Or am I looking forward to be in that position where I can now have something to drink and consume, or have?
Well, and by the way, there's nothing wrong with the consumption and even enjoying that space.
Yeah.
In fact, in some countries, they're developing now. In China, here, developing quite a bit of some things called social non-alcoholic bars. So they create almost a similar environment that are in our latest clubs, but there's no alcohol being sold. So to enjoy the ambience, to enjoy a good time, there's really nothing wrong with that. In fact, it should be encouraged.
It's good for your mental health.
Yeah, it is. And a few beers for majority of the people around the world, it is not bad for people, to be honest. Majority of the people don't develop a problem. In fact, if you look at statistics around the world, it shows on average about 8 to 12% of people are likely to develop a problem. Some people are predisposed.
Of what? Sorry. Boniface. Percent of whom?
A percentage of the population.
Okay, of the entire population. Okay, that's a lot. Okay.
8 to 12%.
In Kenya,
That's a lot.
yes, and if you look even in Kenya, the statistics that are showing, you will see it is about that. So about 50 million people in Kenya, about 3.2 million people are consuming alcohol. 3.2 about. That's on a population of about 50 million. Don't forget, close to below 16 are about close to half the population. About 18 million people are already below the drinking ages. So when you have 3 million people out of, that is close to about 8 to 12% experimenting.
Okay. And you said are likely to develop a problem.
Yes.
So could you define that for us? When you say likely to develop a problem,
So
are we talking about alcohol dependence? Are we talking about addiction? What are we saying?
Yes, and you know that's a progressive thing. It's like a pendulum. The problem is it's like a pendulum. So you have people who are starting to use. For certain people, when they start to use, it's very important that we have interventions that can protect them from the consequences of initial. There are some people who just drink once or have started to drink at the age of 18 and then they have an overdose or they drink too much. So we need to have interventions and planned interventions where if these people get exposed badly, they are safe to be taken home, they are not going to be abused, you know. There's no there's some safety of some form of safety. So even interventions are not necessarily around addictions only. Interventions are supposed to be there even for experimentation, the safety of experimentation, because these people will experiment. We have about 8 to 10 million Kenyans between the age of 16 and 24. And if you look at it, Eric, that's about the time I also experimented.
That's the age of experimentation.
That's the age of experimentation. The thing to imagine that a population like that one will never be exposed in a free market economy like ours is
false.
Wishful effort. It's not, and it's not even good because majority of those people will drink safely. Majority of those people will never develop a drug problem. Majority of those, 90% or 85% will not develop a problem. So how do you keep this spaces safe? How do you help them to help others who are developing a problem? How do you identify people who have a problem and, start to nudge them to get the help they need? Those are the discussions around that age group that we should be having. And then the people who start to develop a problem, how do we intervene? Yes. So out of the 3.2 or 4 million people who are using one drug or another as a habit, we could say about 10% of those people really do have an urgent problem. That's about close to 500,000 people.
I know we talk about this. I mean, we do. We have these conversations often. But I think it is important for us to really understand when you talk about habitual drug use.
Yes.
Still, we're dealing with issues that folks maybe not classifying alcohol as a drug, but for all intents and purposes, it is. So when you say use as a form that develops into a habit, to try and understand this, so you're not necessarily, by the time it becomes a habit, you're not necessarily deriving any pleasure from it, but it has become something that has become part of you. Am I right? Or how does that?
Actually shifts. It shifts from experimentation and moves to almost like social use. Then becomes a habit. Then it becomes dependency. Now, dependency is what is needs really urgent attention, because this person is unable to function without use, or without the substance, they are not the same person.
Okay, so what does that mean? I mean, look, I'm sorry, first to get granular, but I think it's important. What does that mean? Like, wake up in the morning and I have a cup of coffee. I'm speaking like meat and do. Have a cup of coffee in the morning because, it's going to jumpstart you, kick the day. So when we're saying that if it's drugs and alcohol, we're saying that somebody wakes up in the morning, and the way Ndu would have a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, whatever, somebody needs to have a shot of something in order to be able to function?
For some. You see, for some, it's like that. Yeah? There are some people who have a problem that's a binge problem rather than a daily problem. A binge problem, there are people who now I'm trying to describe something different, that is not necessarily people who use every day to function. But the moment they pick up a drink, it is a stream of continuous drinking. They can't stop. But there's some people who don't drink every day, like we have our coffee. By the way, I had mine this morning. So we can develop a dependency that is safe. There's some people who have to exercise every morning, almost like dependent on the exercise to get adrenaline going. There's some habits which, if we form, can be very helpful habits to keep away from substance abuse. So habits by themselves are not bad things. There are people who wake up early morning to pray as a habit, and if they don't, they have a problem. They're unstable.
They feel that their day didn't start well.
So it's habits. Good habits. A good habit. Habits that can be helpful and habits that can be harmful. If you remember that when we discussed the definition of the problem, it was an obsession of the mind, a compulsion to do, but the consequences are negative. You can have almost like an obsession, almost like a habit of using, but the consequences are good, and that is not a bad thing altogether. You get? Yeah. Let's also now look at what you are mentioning. Okay, how do you qualify what dependency is? Dependency is an inability to function without, or when having started the use becomes a loss of control. A loss of control. In fact, loss of control is a major determinant of how we examine people who have a problem. Loss of control. How? When you start to use, what happens? Why is it impossible to stop at what you had planned to stop at? You had gone out, you had planned to drink 2 to 4 beers or 8. Yeah, for those who can drink quite a bit, hard drinkers. But when you get to this level, something happens, and another one, and another one, and this becomes almost like a pattern. And every time you get into a bar, you really hadn't planned to spend so much. You really hadn't planned to stay for that long. You really hadn't used your little resources that were meant for rent or school fees for the children, or school fees for you've been given by your parent. You hadn't meant to. But once you got started,
it goes downhill from that point.
Now that is now where it starts to also affect how you feel like in the morning. Because in the morning now you wake up with regrets. And you want to use to stop the regret. Or some people start to develop what you mentioned, and the tying in with mental health starts from there, because you're not too sure what happened last night. For some young girls, that's the time they probably start having sexual things with people that they hadn't planned to. And you can't quite remember whether there was a condom used. Those things stick in your mind, and you try to rub them off and you try to block them off, but they continuously now start to disturb you.
Nagging you at the back of your mind.
Yes. So those are the patterns that develop that now lead to continuous use to forget how you feel and to influence how you're feeling. When you can buy a packed substance that can confirm exactly how you will feel, then you're better off with that substance than to face your demons.
Okay. You said out of, for example, the 8 to 5% who are likely to develop, there are some who are predisposed to addiction.
Yes.
What does predisposition to addiction mean?
Yes,
what do you mean?
Thank you. There's been some arguments. There's some, and if you look at the genealogy of addiction, sometimes you look back into
the family tree.
Yes, into the family tree. And if you look, like myself, by the way, I don't know whether I've shared this with you. Someday you should ask me to share this. It's my personal own story. And when I look back, I see no one in my family ever uses without developing issues. Yeah? Since I got clean 21 years ago, we have only one person left in the extended family who is still drinking. They have all come into recovery. They've seen through me and seen the program and how people change when they stop drinking. And most of
they
them
have also gone through that.
Yes,
that
they
motion.
had to.
Start and you get into a point of addiction.
It's almost automatic. It's almost like a predisposition. It's almost
and
genetic.
are we talking about immediate family or extended family?
It's extended family in the grandfather area. That's where we look. We don't look further.
On the paternal side?
Yes. If you look, not even the maternal side.
Okay.
Both sides. But you look at the grandfather, it's almost like an immediate family. Apart from your nucleus family, the other family. You start to look, you'll see an uncle who has a problem. We try to figure out that, and that's where the mental health issues also crop up. You start to see a connection between certain brain chemistries and psychoactive substances that once those two are put together, it's almost like our chemistry.
There's going to be a reaction.
They are going to
put these two elements together.
Some people, they don't even drink much, Eric.
Exactly.
And you see this guy, man, this guy's lost it already.
So, and then there's that. There's one, the predisposition.
Yes.
But there's an issue of tolerance.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So how do you tell that you're addicted? Is it when you drink 10 beers? Or, I mean, there are people who sit and drink.
Yes.
And they can drink a lot.
Oh, yes.
But they're not addicted.
Yes.
And there are people who don't drink a lot.
Yes.
But they just hit one and they're down.
Yes.
And they now are dependent on just the one or the two. How do you distinguish this?
Well, there are people, and that's why I try to define there are different types of alcoholics. And even the alcoholics book, they mention quite a number of them, different types. And some of them, what you just described, people who, when they pick a drink, for one reason or another, they become another person. See a decent lady like Ndu, all of a sudden, she's a different person during that period of time, and things can happen. So even if they drink once in a year, they are at risk.
That once
in a year.
And is it because I imagine that if it's a one-time thing, a one-time event, can you chalk it up to an addiction, or can you say that there is a chemical imbalance that happens when somebody then just consumes and they don't know, or their body just can't handle it?
Yes.
Is there a difference between that and an actual addiction? Because I would assume that addiction means that I need to go back and keep getting this thing. If I don't get it, I'm not functioning.
Yes. A good thought process there. It's just that you have a problem with alcohol. Addiction is not necessarily the only problem with alcohol.
Okay.
It's not the only. Addiction is one of the components of the problem. If you remember, we mentioned even earlier that some people who, even their experimental stages, they develop lifelong consequences. Lifelong consequences. So it's important to have interventions for that. So this kind of alcoholic is not necessarily an addicted alcoholic. It's a person who, when they drink, for some reason, they react because of their composition. They react very different with the drink, and their life is at risk. It's the same people who could drink once in a year, but during that period of time, they drive, they probably knock somebody on the road, they probably have a serious accident, probably is the same office party, one office party of the year. They spoil their name so much, you know. Shimayote, all the respect that
everything that you've built up in the whole year,
you can bring it down
this one night.
Yes. So that person needs a different kind of program to highlight the allergy. It's almost like an allergic reaction. Yeah, that's that one. Then there is, of course,
na pombe.
Yes, askizani kabisa. Hapo ndio utaona, especially people who have mental health issues. Yeah, and those are the people who come to rehab very early. Because the process has not gone through its natural progression of experimentation, social use, habitual use, dependence, and bottom end of the problem. Yeah.
Let's take a break.
Yeah.
We come back. We'll also just expand the issue of addiction. Because many times when people talk about addiction, they think about the hard drugs, and by hard drugs here we mean maunga and the others, injectables, or alcohol. In some cases, weed, but people don't even say this guy's addicted to weed.
No.
They just say he smokes up, right? But we say this one is addicted to the hard drugs, or this one is addicted to alcohol. But is there addiction beyond that, like habits, right? And are they also as bad or as dangerous as addiction to alcohol? All right. So let's take that break. Our guest this morning is Boniface Dirango. He is an addictions prevention and rehabilitation champion. He's our guest to talk about the challenges of addiction and rehabilitation in Kenya and the status of it. What is it that's happening from the government side, from the community side? How is the community responding to issues of addiction? Do we all understand what addiction is? How is it impacting our mental health and the health of the nation? 28 minutes to 8. We'll be back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Ready to take your farm to the next level? The Farm Kenya Annual Mkulima Expo in Kitale is the place to be. Circle the dates, 27th and 29th of September at Ndura Grounds. This year's game-changing theme, safe harvesting and storage, bigger profits. Get hands-on with cutting-edge tech, unlock the secrets of safe storage, and dive into farm-to-fork innovations. Rub shoulders with top players from seed companies, mechanization pros, storage experts, and more, all under one roof. Farmers, MSMEs, researchers, investors, this event is tailor-made for you. It's your shot to elevate your farm and maximize your gains. Don't just watch from the sidelines. Be part of the action at the Farm Kenya Expo. Brought to you by Farm Kenya. Powering the future of farming, transforming lives.
The weather with SpiceFM.
All right, sunny conditions in Nairobi this morning. We will see highs through Friday of 27 and lows of 13. It's sunny at 15 in Nakuru with highs of 25 and lows of 14, and we'll see highs of 26 and lows of 15 in a sunny Nyeri. 13 and sunny in Eldoret, highs of 23, and at 25 Mombasa is sunny with highs of 30, while at Malindi at 26 is sunny, going to highs of 30 and lows of 24. It's 20 and sunny in Kisumu with highs of 30, and Kakamega at 17 is sunny, going to highs of 29. Kampala sunny at 18 with highs of 30, while Dar es Salaam at 23 is sunny, going to highs of 30 as well. 11 degrees and partly sunny in Johannesburg with highs of 26, and Mogadishu at 27 is sunny with highs of 30 and lows of 25. 13 and mostly cloudy in Addis Ababa with highs of 21 and lows of 11. It's mostly cloudy at 25 in Lagos with highs of 30, and Kinshasa at 22. Rain showers with highs of 32 and lows of 22.
Sugar, spice, and everything nice. SpiceFM.
Spice up your life.
All right, so getting into traffic hour this morning, and it's really starting to build on Uhuru Highway. And there's traffic coming in from Langata Road on this side, Lusaka on the other side, Aerodrome and Bunyala, and then it's going to cross over to what's coming in from Gong Road through towards Haile Selassie. So that is busy. Also traffic building as you're coming in on Gong Road, and that's from Rilo Dinga Way, which is getting some traffic from Langata Road. So all of this starting to pile up as well. A quick look at Jogo Road, and there's a little bit of traffic heading towards Landis, but Landis is free without a problem Thika Superhighway heavy with traffic this morning, and it's getting through towards the CBD as well as Kiambu Road. In and outbound traffic is extremely heavy this morning. We'll take a quick look at what's coming off of James Gishuru towards Waiyaki Way. Pretty busy here as well, and I think we're just getting into it. Let's see what happens as we come through the morning. SpiceFM, KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
Chilled Spice. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Addiction prevention and rehabilitation. That's our topic this morning. And a champion of these matters is Boniface Ndirango, who's our guest today. As we talk about this, Boniface, are there other types of addiction? We've talked about, alcohol, substance use. What other types of addiction do we have?
Yeah. Thanks for that. Yes, we are developing quite a bit of compulsive, obsessive gambling.
Mm-hmm.
And that's become a major problem in our country. A major contributor to actually the number of
gambling.
suicide rates. Yes, gambling
in casino.
Yes, gambling in casino, and also, originally this gambling started by people buying products and winning and scratching and winning, and that has a way of acting on our pleasure centers in the brain.
Mm-hmm.
So that can become a serious addiction. The high of winning, the high of betting and losing. Losing is the low side of it. Yeah? So gambling has become a major problem in our country. Yeah, and very correlated with mental health issues.
Really?
Yes.
How are people getting into addiction to gambling, into betting, like you're saying?
Yeah. See, the circumstances in this country are such that there is always some need for extra money.
Yes.
Most people, the costs of living and the cost and how much they earn, for a majority of the people, they always are in need. I'm in that category also of people who would do with extra money. Yeah. So when it is made to look like just spending 100 bob could win you 17 million shillings or 170, it's very tempting for anyone just to think about it. So for most average people, we think 100 bob, okay, let me just put that one. And that 100 bob might not mean anything. The bigger part is when they win the first win. You win like 3,000 or you win another 5,000.
You invested 100.
Yes.
You got 3,000.
You got a dividend of 3,000.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
That has a very huge impact on people continuing because of the pleasure of winning.
What demographic are you seeing getting more and more addicted into this gambling? Is it young? Is it male? Is it female? Is it urban? Is it rural?
Yes, interesting. And I would like to read a little bit more about it, but I've heard even women, older women beginning to show shows, trying to bet, because they have seen. And these guys also are always advertising it, yeah? If you remember.
Yep.
They advertise it in a way that anyone looks like they can win, because it's in the numbers.
So there's testimonials.
Yes.
I did it, and here is my check.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. And have you noticed that majority of the ones who are displayed that they have won a certain segment of a population that is being targeted?
There's a certain social demographic.
Yes. And if you imagine the numbers, the math, if you work, if all these Kenyans were to give you a shilling every day, that's like 50 million shillings every day. Daily. That's good money. Yeah? So if you target the people who are vulnerable, even predatory lending has become almost like that now. That's another major area of debt. In fact, there's a friend of mine who has developed a program called Debt Anonymous. There are people who just like borrowing money and they are not going to pay. They're always in debt.
That's also an addiction.
That is also an addiction. By the way, 12-step programs have 762 forms of addictions and support systems. Yeah? Very interesting concepts. Or some people who have issues around clutter and cluttering.
Yes.
Yeah, some people who are hoarders, they hoard stuff, they never let stuff go. It's a form of addiction, of holding back, and it also tells a lot about the state of mind of people.
Okay.
So depending on which addictions can manifest themselves. When it is negative, it's when because we are creatures of habit.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, this seat you put here for a long time. If you just change it a little bit, you'll be uncomfortable. And so we'll do. We if you leave, you just go to any meeting space.
Yes.
And after people have had the morning meeting, and then they go for a break, and they come back, they almost own a certain space.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you moved around, you get disoriented.
Yeah, you get disoriented.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yes. So we are creatures of habit.
Yeah.
So what habit are we forming? So that's also now our recovery process. What are we forming? What habit are we forming? Are they good for us? Are they negative for us?
For folks who then become addicted to whatever area that we're talking about here, from alcohol and drugs to gambling to sex, whatever it may be, is there a latent mental health issue that this action of drinking or taking drugs or performing sexual acts in whatever way that then brings out the mental health issue? Or are we saying that it's not necessarily that there be a mental health issue that leads towards this addiction? Is there an underlying experience? Is there something? Have we been able to see that there's something that even getting through the addiction, somebody will be able to point back to and say, actually, I have a problem here, and that is what is making me do this. Of course, this comes in the recovery process, but are we able to link directly mental health issues to the addiction problem that we are seeing? And let's just take Kenya for now before we even go to the world. Is there a correlation between the two?
Siamese twins, actually. They're intertwined at the hip. I mean, it's one and the same. Addiction is actually a mental health issue, if you really think about it. Yeah? It's a mental health issue. It's compulsion to behave. And that's all, it's mental.
So it's a manifestation of the mental health issue.
Yes. So the variants are what we now as therapists or people who are trying to figure out the problem and where it emanates from and what program you're going to individualize to help develop. We go through what you're just talking about. Go through somebody's childhood to figure out any traumatic experiences. Which born were they? Some people just being firstborn, what that means in our country. We have to localize it. Some people some girls especially not having a father figure and not even necessarily being abused. Because the structures have changed of our families now. They have really changed. Some people, these things affect them. And maybe the first boyfriend they meet is an abusive one, just like the father abused the mother. There is always, especially among the younger people, there's always an underlying mental health issue. And when people say mental health issue, they probably think of ni mwenda wazimu or sijui schizophrenia. No, variants. Mental health is varying. And there's mental health and there's mental illness. So a lot of times people confuse mental illness with mental health. Mental health is common among all of us. And sometimes you can develop an issue. Sometimes it could be anxiety issue. High achieving families, you find somebody's left behind. You have your brothers, like me, for example. If a lot of times it's just good to go back to my own addiction and look at what were the causes. When I got into rehab, if you try to identify and link my childhood with why I had a problem with heroin, I would have told you, nothing. I made the wrong choices. I'm a man. I take responsibility for my actions.
Just about me.
Yes. I will stop this thing. This problem is a drug. But it wasn't. If you look at heroin is a painkiller. By the way, we were just observing. I had a group of about 65 people. Her Excellency doctors had given me at the coast. I was managing heroin addicts, and if you look, the patterns are almost the same. Serious emotional pain, and heroin is a painkiller. And by the way, we begin to see a serious correlation between our childhood, traumatic events of our childhood, some things that we are not even responsible for, plus our own our own inherited mental health
issues.
Yeah, being addressed by the substance that we fell for. We fell for.
So there's always a correlation between many things.
Yeah, a lot of shy people, very reserved people in their childhood.
So on the other end,
alcohol played a big part in breaking the shyness. I've had you interview people here who say that's the first time they were able to date, able to dance because they had 2 left feet. Alcohol opened them up in that way.
They had confidence.
So then it would be difficult to find somebody who is an addict at one level that does not have an issue with a mental health issue. Is that what we're saying? It would be difficult to find somebody who just is in addiction. Okay, let's just take alcohol as an example. It would be difficult to find somebody who is an addict of alcohol who does not have a mental health issue at some level. Are we saying that?
No, actually there are some people who have pretty much, apart from alcohol, they are very okay with. It's just their reaction, the brain chemistry with alcohol. So alcohol is a mental health.
Is the thing now. So there's no side
reaction with
yes.
You put whatever chemical alcohol is. I wasn't very good in chemistry, but it's a chemical.
Yes.
There's some math there that can be added, chemistry. And you add their brain chemistry, there is even the difference in terms of affinity. Therefore, some people, affinity is a problem. Like they want this all the time, despite it not being good for their health. Their system is groping for that. Like for some people now, like me myself, now I've quit using any drugs for more than 21 years. No alcohol, not even a sip. But carbohydrates, I find myself eating a lot of chapati, and you can see bread, carbohydrates, and they're very almost addictive. Yeah. So
just thinking about chapati.
Thinking about chapati right now.
So yes, for some of us, we have that like affinity to certain things which are not necessarily good for our health. Good for our health. It's really broad.
It's broad.
Yeah,
have you come across people
who
are addicted to taking other people's things? Kleptomaniacs.
Oh, yes.
Is that an addiction?
Yes. It's
And
compulsive, remember?
It's compulsive.
And obsessive.
You just see something and
It's
you're
negative.
like, you don't know what you use it for.
You don't.
But you just take it. Okay, how about lying?
Yes.
Are there people who are compulsive liars and don't take it beyond this? We're staying within the confines of this conversation.
Yes, psychopathic liars. Compulsive.
Is that an addiction?
Well, I don't know.
Telling a lie.
Pathological lie.
If it goes that, like they are obsessing about it, they're compulsive about lying for no reason sometimes. They really don't need to lie. Yeah? Now that is a psycho. Those are the other disorders are called psychopathic disorders. That goes also with personality disorders. But they are like that.
Does Kenya address addiction well?
No, I don't think so. We have taken too long to do what needs to be done. I hear that Asha actually just met a very good man called Harry Kimtai, the PS, just recently, and I can see that they are trying to include almost all rehabilitation centers within the new framework, which is a very good step forward. This is like 20 years behind schedule. Yeah? And the amount of money that they have put in place is going to be very difficult for and then also putting in place and paying is a whole different ball game altogether. So it is not. I'm not sure how that is going to work out, because if you calculate the number of people who have an alcohol drug problem, and then the number of spaces in treatment centers, and then the people who really need it, and the amount of money that they have allocated, still, in my opinion, not going to be sufficient. There are some other funds that have been set aside that have never really been activated, like the Rehabilitation Fund of Narcotics and Psychotropic Drugs Act of 1994. Since 1994, it's within
There's
the
a law that created a fund.
A fund, yes. Through prescription, no prescriptions and heroin substances, all these banned substances like cocaine, heroin. The funds, when Nakina Asha or other people, drug dealers have been arrested, this money is supposed to go into a fund that helps
with rehabilitation.
Drug addicts with rehabilitation. Right. It's a law, but it has never been activated. Where that money goes from 1994 to now is as good a guess as anyone's, because there's a lot of funding, even international funding, against narcotics. That fund should have been activated by now. Our president had promised in his manifesto to activate the rehabilitation fund. He has not done it yet. That is one fund. There's another fund in the Alcohol Drinks Control Act. All these county governments, like in Nairobi, Sakaja, and his previous governments, now since 2005, they have their own law, Nairobi Liquor Licensing Acts, which has 15% of all bar licenses in Nairobi. And Nairobi has
many bars. 15% of
supposed to go into
all licenses.
Yes. 15% all those years.
Whenever an institution that is selling alcohol gets a license, applies for a license from the liquor licensing, 15% of that fee
is directly supposed to go to rehabilitation of addicts.
Wow.
There is another 85% for the county and for the officials running. When we calculate this kind of money, because we have, and we see that this money is just being diverted, diverted for other government use.
So currently, where does that money go?
Where does it go?
Well, they use it. Their finance minister just turn it around for something else. That's a question. The next time he's here, you should ask him. 15% for the last 10, 15 years. Where has it gone?
That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, but people get jobs. There's a board. There's always somebody to get the money and use the money for some reason. For some, there's no direct link between what the money is supposed to do, and it's not just Nairobi County. All counties have that law now passed. Nyeri passed it the other day. That's Alcohol Drinks Control Act. That's really good money for them to use to get around the development of rehabilitation centers and supporting existing treatment centers. Now, another money is a tobacco fund. There's really good money that can be used for rehabilitation. The law also states that some of that money should be used for that. That money just disappears, and it has been around for a while. So if you collate and bring together these resources, the Rehabilitation Fund, the Narcotics, Psychotropic Drugs, the Alcohol Drinks Control Act, the Tobacco Fund, SHA, and the new plans to have about 68,000 per rehab center per year per client, that can make an impact on the close to 500,000 people who really need rehabilitation. And it can also make even a bigger impact with prevention programs and interventions that are in between this pendulum that we talked about.
Who deals with rehabilitation in this country? Which department? So we're hearing Ministry of Health.
Yes.
Nakada is under Interior, isn't it?
Yes.
The Office of the Deputy President currently has been handling these matters.
Yes.
So there's so much, anybody who is, there's so many county governments are all dealing with addiction and rehabilitation.
Yes.
Is there a need to centralize all this to say that there shall be one focal point to address addiction in this country?
A committee would be good that coordinates, and NACADA should be the coordinating agency. Originally, that's what it was meant to do. But now it has kind of not done that coordination very well. They can empower the counties, inform, educate the counties, have the experts that are needed to empower the counties to implement the health component of it. There is the prevention component that needs to be done by the education ministry. So you need to empower teachers or have a group of people who can really help synchronize our education system with good attitudes and education about addictions. That is a prevention program. That is from way down all the way to, and I think something is being done there, but we need better. In fact, I noticed there was a professor who came here from Israel and you talked to him, and he was a very informed person.
What was his name?
Yes.
Yeah.
Human behavior among school-going children is a scientific research and a process through which you can monitor children's behavior and monitor the way you monitor mathematics as they grow up, the way you monitor English as they grow up. You monitor their behavior. Monitor does not say you tell them how to behave. You're just watching what is it going on with this kid. You're watching their moods. There's a criteria that teachers can be taught. And this over time can be a very helpful guide in developing programs. Can also tell you what behaviors lead to what type of people. Eventually, if you follow longitudinally. Yeah. So having that.
Don't tell katakuwa klepto.
Do we?
Yeah, but one of the biggest problems we have in our country, and this I think, I don't know if I'm the only one who keeps saying, is our allocation of human resources, perhaps one of the worst thing we do. Wrong people doing the wrong jobs. Have people who have no clue what they are doing. They're learning on the job. While we have experts, who could really help on the job. You can just imagine, as I mentioned earlier, this your show is a very good place to investigate and read and learn on how this country can be helped. If you really took time to look at the last, how many years has this show been for? You can pick a lot on what needs to be done.
So are we looking at severe levels of addiction in Kenya? Are we looking at severe levels across the board that really then do need a lot more attention than is currently being applied?
Oh yes. And this is an ending. Yeah. And you mentioned something like, if anything, if you look at the maths of addictions and how much it contributes to the economy, when we do nothing about addictions, what I hear is that we are trying to do something. Countries that don't do anything about addictions, they lose close to, on average, 6% of their GDP. 6 to 8%. That is a science that has been done, mathematics, and we have not even studied our own cost of addictions. Most countries are doing that, calculating cost of addiction. And that's what our university should help also with this, calculating these costs. What are the costs, direct costs, indirect costs? How much do we pay eventually, even when we do nothing?
Yeah.
When we do nothing. When we do something, it is possible to save close to 3% of that. And 3% of our GDP in our country is close to about 800 billion. 3% or more of our GDP. That's what you stand to save if you input some measures. It is also a known fact now around the world that 1 shilling used in addiction prevention will save you about 100 shillings in treatment. Yeah? So how much? Another one would save about 10 in terms of people who go to actual addictions. A simple thing also to look at is people like me now. I would be dead long time ago if I hadn't gone to rehab. I'm a former heroin addict. Lived in the streets for 3 years. Came out with a number of diseases from the streets. If I hadn't been helped with, I remember for me it was at the time 15,000 a month. That is 45,000. If I hadn't been helped, I would not be a parent now. I would not be contributing to the economy. I'm now, I fuel to come here.
Yep.
And you're looking at a situation where you couldn't do that before.
Yes, we couldn't.
Well, Boniface, thank you. Thank you for the insights this morning. Asante sana, and keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
You're helping many. Boniface Ndirango is an addictions prevention and rehabilitation champion. We've been talking about addiction, the cost of addiction in this country, the challenges of addiction and rehabilitation in Kenya, and what we all need to know, how it's also correlated to our mental health. We know for a fact that mental health is a big challenge in this country. 50% of people who go to hospital have a mental health issue. That's a big number. Now, if we add now addiction into it as a way in which they express themselves, then we can see it's a big issue. Keep it here for more conversations. In the next hour, we talk about the laws governing our fire safety in the country. It's 8 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. President William Ruto has confirmed that Kenya will fulfill its commitment to ensure 2,500 police officers are deployed to Haiti as part of the mission to restore peace to the Caribbean nation. Speaking during the United Nations General Assembly in New York, the president explained that the 382 officers already deployed to Haiti had made significant strides in the mission by protecting critical infrastructure and regaining communities previously held by gangs.
At the last General Assembly, I announced Kenya's readiness to lead a multinational security support mission to Haiti at the Haitian government's request. Kenya has deployed 382 specially trained police officers to Haiti. Just a few days ago, I had the opportunity to visit Haiti, witness the work of our officers in the field, and observe remarkable progress on the ground. Our support for the Haitian National Police has significantly advanced the pacification of cities and towns, protected critical infrastructure, and relieved many communities previously held captive by criminal gangs. I also commend Haiti's political leadership for forging an agreement and a promising roadmap towards free, fair, and democratic elections. Kenya will deploy the additional contingent towards attaining the target of all the 2,500 police officers by January next year.
This, as the head of state said, Kenya will continue to offer platforms that support peace, including mediation.
Kenya's commitment to international peace and security is unwavering. We continue investing in efforts that promote stability and harmony both within our region and beyond. We are committed to continuing to mediate, facilitate, and support peace initiatives and processes in our region, contributing to regional peace operations and the UN peacekeeping missions. Through our participation in the Africa Union
And Kericho Governor Eric Mutai is pleading with members of the County Assembly not to proceed with an impeachment motion against him. This after Sigei MCA Kipruti Rogon tabled the impeachment motion before the Kericho County Assembly, citing constitution violations, gross misconduct and abuse of office, thereby putting the governor's first term in jeopardy. Speaking at the burial of former Kipchimchim Ward MCA Robert Bernard Kipkorir, the governor humbled himself before those in attendance, pleading for mercy. This was a notable departure from the typical demeanor of Kenyan politicians, who are often characterized by their hubris. Now, 10 of the 21 students who died in the fire incident at Hillside and Asha School in Nyeri County will be buried today. The exercise of giving the victims their final respect started yesterday, with 9 being buried and 2 others will be buried tomorrow. Nyeri Governor Mutai says plans have been put in place to make sure that the exercise goes smoothly ahead of resumption of studies at the school.
Ningetaka niwajulishe kwamba tutaweza kuwa na mazishi katika boma 9 ambazo zitaweza kukamilisha mazishi. Wengine 10 tutaweza kufanya vile, tutamalizia kwa wale wawili ambao watakuwa wamebaki. Kwa hivyo tutakuwa na mwendelezo wa haya mambo kuanzia sasa hadi Ijumaa.
Now, the much-awaited Football Kenya Federation national elections will be conducted on December 7th this year, according to the Electoral Board. Now, the board released a clear roadmap that will guide the polls and also the electoral code that will guide those who have expressed interest of vying for different positions. The national elections will be preceded by the county polls that will be held on November 9th. The final list of eligible clubs and delegates will be published on October 10th, and then county and the National Executive Committee and national presidential national forms will be submitted on October 11th and 14th, respectively. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
102.5 SpiceFM, Kisumu.
All right, that traffic continues on James Gishuru. It's crossing over Waiyaki Way out towards the Red Hill Link Road. It's also busy on Ring Road Westlands and Ring Road coming in through towards Oloitoktok. Very busy traffic there this morning. Not quite sure what's causing that, but it's a buzz. Also, on the Thika Superhighway, traffic is pretty heavy and it's coming in hot from Allsops at the junction. Outer Ring as well is busy giving towards that area. Juja Road also busy, as is on Kiambu Road. Now is when we see heavy traffic building on Limuru Road. It's coming in from Red Hill. Whatever is coming off of the Red Hill Link Road is then heading out into the city at into Limuru Road and then out into Westlands. Jago Road also busy. A quick look at the Eastern Bypass. Heavy traffic. It's trying to connect with traffic then that's going out towards Baraka. And Utawala is coming in with some traffic as well. So it's a busy morning, folks. Friday, different one this week. Let's have a look and see how it gets us through traffic hour. SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The second last hour of The Situation Room this week begins now. Thank you very much for keeping it locked throughout today, throughout the week, and through the month of September. Karibu sana. So President William Ruto, as you've just heard in the news, was addressing the United Nations General Assembly yesterday. Talked about very many things. Well, he's been busy. He also gave an interview to Christian Amanpour of CNN, talked about various issues, has also talked in various fora. One of those fora, he was talking about how Kenya is leveraging the use of AI. We are leveraging the use of AI, for example, in our means testing instrument for university funding, where our AI is being used to see what is the financial capability of each individual student and then categorizing them in bands. That's what he said. And he also said that we're leveraging the use of AI to see how we distribute fertilizer to farmers in our fertilizer subsidy program, where we identify which farmer is this, what are they growing, what kind of fertilizer do they need, and they get the fertilizer. At Spice FM, we're also leveraging the power of AI. We have hired a person who is our AI, and his name is who? Avin. Avin, our AI, is, for example, right now determining who among the people that are subscribing to the Safaricom all-in-one package deserves 3,000 shillings today. And what do they need to do to get into the AI system?
In order for the AI system to select you by algorithm and Avin, what you need to do is dial *544#. All right, you get there, you go to the Go Monthly plan. The Go Monthly plan leads you to the all-in-one bundle. All-in-one, several things that you could do at the same time. You can talk, for example, 1,000 minutes a month. You can send messages, 2,000 messages a month, SMS now. Free WhatsApp for the whole month, as well as 17 GB data. So you can browse, you can talk, you can send messages, and you can get onto socials. Okay? All of that stuff, if you pay 2,000 shillings, you can have it for 30 days, and you never have to worry about whether you will get cut off from communication, or whether you will cease to browse the internet, whether you can hail your cab, whether you can, talk to your person, whatever. It will not stop, because you did the all-in-one at the beginning of the month, and then you also said you're going to send a screenshot to our social, SpiceFM KE, and that is how the AI will select you.
Leveraging the power of AI. It's the future, and the future is here today. Hi. Our conversation now is going to be about fire safety. Now, if you look at the papers today, and if you watched the news yesterday, and if you've been in this country for a long enough, you know what happened at Hillside Academy in Ednah a couple of weeks ago. And yesterday, there was a requiem service for all the 21 young boys that perished. And the Standard has a photo on the front page of the caskets, each of them with a photo of the fallen boy and a wreath on it. The Nation has the photos, mugshots of the 21 boys, all of them ranging between the ages of 12 and 13. There's one 11-year-old, Collins Moreithi Washira. The others are Lewis Mashira, also who is 11, 12 years old, 13-year-old, Timothy Wamai Gedenji, 14 years old. This is a sad story. 10 of them are to be buried today as investigations continue. They died in a fire incident in their dormitory one night. Okay? Just this is one. We have seen many cases of fires in schools, cases of fires at home, cases of fires in estates, where an estate catches fire and fire rages through an estate, fire in markets, fire destroys. We want to understand, does our law know fire? Is there any law in this Republic of Kenya that knows fire as fire? Not disasters, but fire. Wilson Okoh is an advocate of the High Court, and he's a certified fire safety auditor. He's our guest. Wilson, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Good to have you here on Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you for having me.
That's a hot seat. Yeah. Your rangi, what color is that?
Canary yellow.
Eh?
Canary yellow.
Canary yellow.
Fire.
That's the red is fire. And then the yellow is not Uda.
You've got me there.
Okay.
I'm not so versed in colors, but the red is the one that tells you.
You know the red.
Yeah, that guy is on fire.
The rest is the stories.
Yeah.
Karibu sana. We will talk about fire and fire safety, but first let me give you the day's proverb. So every week, our colleague Siti Muga, who's been on leave for a couple of days, goes to one African country and picks up proverbs from that country. And then he comes with a proverb a day from that country. The job of a guest is to listen to the proverb and give us their interpretation of that proverb, okay? So your job, Wilson, is to listen to today's proverb and give us your own interpretation. Proverbs for this week are from Senegal. You know where Senegal is? Yes?
Yes.
Where is it?
West Africa.
Very good. You get the marks. Okay. Today's proverb. If you speak, speak to him who understands you. If you speak, speak to him who understands you.
So,
what's your interpretation? What does that proverb tell you?
If you're going to say something, make sure it lands on the ears of those who can make change or who can utilize it positively. So there's no point talking to the wrong focus group or wrong audience. Right information, right audience. That's what it tells me.
Very good. You've landed it. Yes.
Yes.
I see. It makes sense. Makes sense to me. So now let's speak to the right audience.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
About matters of fire. But first of all, who's a fire safety auditor? What do you do?
As a fire safety auditor, I am approved by a government body, the Ministry of Labour, through their Directorate of Occupational Safety and Health Services, DOSHS. They're located at Safety House, Commercial Street, and they're the ones with the mandate for approving experts to carry out safety audits, be fire, occupational safety and health, risk assessments, and many other safety-related inspections and audits.
Please say that entity again. Directorate
Occupational Safety and Health Services, DOSHS. You can find them on doshmis.go.ke. That is doshmis.go.ke.
Okay.
They are the regulator.
And they are nestled under the Ministry of Labour and Social Protection.
And Social Protection.
Okay. How long have they been in existence?
I found them there when I relocated to Kenya after many years of working in the UK. So I cannot tell you their genesis, but it is more than 25 years.
Right.
They've been around.
Okay.
Yes.
So for you to get certified by DOSHS,
yes.
What do you need to do?
You need to be a person with adequate training, experience, and knowledge in your field. So, for example, to be a fire safety auditor, you need to go through a vetting process. They interview you. It takes almost a whole day. You have to present yourself, present your papers, be vetted, and demonstrate your knowledge, expertise, and training, which qualifies you to be a fire safety auditor. If you want to be a health and safety auditor, similarly, you must also demonstrate that you have the right credentials.
Okay.
Yes, degrees and all such.
For you as a fire safety auditor, do you need any sort of certification to show that you've gone through some level of training on fire safety?
Yes.
And what is it that's recognized?
What is recognized is there's a certain degree you can do, health and safety degree. There are fire safety modules in various universities here and abroad. There is something called NEBOSH, National Examination Board of the UK. They issue certificates in fire safety. There's an Institute of Fire Engineers. They are very rigorous training you can get from them. And if you can pass those exams, it shows that you are competent. And when you go for the interview at DOSHS, and they see that you have passed these exams, and they ask you questions and see you're competent, then they can approve you as a fire safety auditor.
Okay. So that's how you get there. So what exactly does a fire safety auditor do?
A fire safety auditor carries out fire safety audits as per the Fire Risk Reduction Rules 2007 and the Occupational Safety and Health Act 2007. So you go to workplaces and you look at whether that workplace has met the statutory minimum safety requirements. I had the opportunity today to walk in from your front door, from the gate up to where I'm sitting now. I'm happy to say.
Oh, very good.
I'm happy to say that bumepita.
What did you see?
I saw multiple fire exits. I saw multiple fire extinguishers, multiple fire signs. I saw an evacuation map. I saw a first aid kit. I met with a fire marshal who is also the first aider, and I asked her several questions pertinent regarding her level of training. How often does she take the training? First aid training is annual. And in those few minutes, 10 minutes it took, and I saw very many minimums and above minimum. How many times does the committee here meet? She told me 5 times. The minimum by law is 4. And that was in a space of 10 minutes.
How do you know she was a fire marshal? Did she walk up to you and say, "Hi, I'm a fire marshal"?
No, I asked her. Who is the fire marshal here?
Right.
Who is the first aider here?
Okay.
Where are the exits? And she was telling me there it is, there. And so if I can meet somebody in a workplace and they give me those kind of questions within a space of 10 minutes, that shows there's a positive safety culture. And then I check that you have met the minimum statutory requirements. These are not requirements made up by Wilson Goko. These are passed by an act of parliament and other subsidiary legislation.
Okay, this is great because you talk about statutory requirements. Obviously, then it is law. An act of parliament has required that certain standards be set for safety.
Correct.
Obviously, we have this conversation usually around incidents that occur. It is my hope that we can be having them even when incidents don't occur.
Correct.
To keep the safety awareness right here at our eyeballs all the time. But I'd like to ask a question. You talk about fire safety auditors being called to workplaces when there's a need to see if, you've an audit. I mean, that's when it happens, to make sure that everything is at par. So that means that there are requirements, obviously.
Yes.
For the workplace. So you're going to have a workplace, you need to have certain things.
Exactly.
My attention wants to go to whereby it's not necessarily a workplace.
Yes.
And that it's a place that is going to house children, for example, like schools.
Okay.
Where we see fires have been happening over the years, many times, and even this year, in the last 1 month, we've seen quite a number.
Yes.
The one that grabs our attention is one where these 21 beautiful children unfortunately passed. Are there requirements at other public spaces defined or required by law to meet a certain standard? And I'm talking about schools now and other social areas.
Thank you. That is the question I came here today to focus on. You have said other public spaces, and you've mentioned the word school apart as a word which is apart from a workplace. A school, for avoidance of doubt, is a workplace.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
There are workers there, teachers, other staff, and the law describes a workplace as any land, any premises, any location, any vessel, anything at, in, upon, or near which a worker is in the course of employment.
Where?
That is everywhere.
It's everywhere.
And it says the act is there to protect persons who are at work and protect persons other than persons at work. So also those who are
persons at work and anybody else who's present.
Is there lawfully. If you are
like I'm a person at work here,
yes,
and you are also then protected,
yes,
right?
Because I am a visitor, or I can be a contractor, or I can be an agent. But if I'm here lawfully, it covers me. If I'm here unlawfully, it doesn't cover. So those are burglars and other terrorists and those other fellows.
Yes,
but it is that anything. Everywhere, where there is a worker, is a workplace. A school is a workplace.
Sure. I think my mind goes to then where children are living in school, in a boarding school, for example. So maybe that's why I did that, dissected that. But still, of course, take into consideration all of that. So what we are saying is that there is a statutory minimum that has been set by law that has to be abided by.
Yes.
Okay. So obviously, the course of your work with audits, you would then be able to know what the situation is on the ground. If you were to say, let's just assume Kenya has just 100 schools, boarding schools, just 100.
Yes.
What numbers are we looking at that these 100 schools, because they're public places, we're using that as an example now.
Yes.
What would we say out of 100 have met the requirement where children can abide in these spaces and be safe when it comes to the disaster of fire? Just the disaster of fire, nothing else.
If you were to ask me my opinion and to give you a number out of 100 public schools, are we in public space or private schools?
Well, let's cut across.
Schools.
Yeah.
I would honestly have to say less than 10%.
No way.
Yes way.
Why?
That is the question. The law has been here since 2007. It is not new. And once a law is published, it is gazetted, and then it is deemed that every person in Kenya is aware of it. The Ministry of Education has been making some efforts. You remember there was a manual that they had produced in 2008 after the same incidents, fires here and there. It is a good guide, but it is not produced. It's produced by the Ministry of Education, not by DOSHS. That is where fire experts like us reside, work, and are licensed. The Ministry of Education cannot regulate fire safety. It is not the regulator.
They can uphold.
They must uphold by law.
Yes.
But they are the implementers.
They can, just like Standard Group is an occupier.
Yeah.
So you follow the law.
Yeah.
And you do everything that the law says you should do.
Okay.
But you can't enforce and you can't regulate. You can give guidance. You can give information and such. So the Ministry of Labour are trying. Where there is a lacuna or gap is that there is a disconnection between government agencies working together and integrating their approach to fire safety.
I think I want to go back to the regulator. DOSHS.
DOSHS.
That one.
Yes.
Okay. This regulator.
Yes.
What its attitude on the regulation and who it regulates? And I'm asking this in a way asking, does it seem to only focus on industrial workplaces? Or does it understand that its mandate covers everywhere across the country when it comes to safety and health safety? Because when you are licensed as auditors, many times you'll hear about the fire auditors and health auditors going into these places where it's big, it's industrial, it's commercial, it's private sector, right? Does the regulator, from your, I know they regulate, they license you and all, but from your observation, does the regulator have a focus on other areas, government institutions, public places, apart from commercial centers?
They do. I have, as part of my job, I have audited all sectors. I'm licensed, we are licensed by them to audit every workplace of every kind in the Republic of Kenya. There's 31 offices that I know in counties where there's a sitting officer called a KOSHO, who is a county occupational safety and health officer. You can walk in there, it's a public place, and demand to know about the safety elements. You know of WIBA, if you're making a claim when you're injured at work, if your workplace is not registered, the WIBA claim will fail. Because where did you get injured? Did you get injured at home, at work? If so, if you are at work, is it a registered workplace? So that is the question to the answer to your question. They are aware and they are active in all sectors in as much as their resources allow. I cannot speak to their operations because I'm not an employee there and I'm not authorized to speak about that. But I know we go as auditors everywhere and every place in this country.
Okay. Does the regulator periodically enforce safety standards in public places? Let's start with government offices.
Or even check.
And go to schools. Does the regulator enforce fire standards as put in the law? Fire safety regulation, reduction rules, and all the others. Does the regulator enforce in our schools?
They do. But first and foremost, the school has to be a registered workplace to come under the to present itself on the radar, so to speak.
All right.
So that brings the question: is there's a lot of unregistered schools?
We have over 40,000 registered schools in this country.
Yes,
let's deal with those ones that are registered.
Yes, registered. When I said registered, I meant work as a workplace with the Ministry of Labour.
Okay, I'm sorry. I know you want to go on, but I must make this clarification. So if we are saying that you have not, because you gave the definition of a workplace.
Yes.
So are we saying that if you have not been registered as a workplace, then this statutory law then does not apply to you?
It applies, but you are non-compliant.
So we can't hold anything against you?
We can visit you at any time and enforce at any time. There is a office within DOSH for prosecutions and enforcement.
Even if you're not registered as a workplace?
Registered as a workplace.
What do you mean by registered?
You have
you're a school,
yes,
okay?
Yes.
You are a public school.
Yes.
Built by government.
Yes.
Maintained by government.
Correct.
Registered by government.
Correct.
So what more registration do you need?
There is a workplace in this Occupational Safety and Health Act. You must register it says, before any person occupies or uses any premises as a workplace, he shall apply for registration of the premises by sending to the director a written notice containing the particulars set out in the 4th schedule.
So if I don't, then I'm not a workplace?
You are unregistered workplace.
Okay.
You are a workplace, but you are unregistered with the Ministry of Labour.
So looking at let's say schools, right?
Yes.
So it's the job of the Ministry of Education to go to this director and say, these are workplaces under me.
It is the job of the school.
Each school.
The
school head.
School administration.
Right.
To go to the Ministry of Labour, DOSHS, and register. I have clients who have done that, many, who are schools. Public and private.
So it's the job of State House Comptroller, for example,
Yes.
to go to DSSS and go and register State House.
Correct.
As a workplace.
As a workplace.
So there's a possibility that State House is not registered as a workplace.
Possibility is the word which you can use.
Yeah, unless we see it. But it's a responsibility of each of these people in every place. I'm just thinking about government and government entities and government offices.
Just because you're in the government
doesn't mean that you're registered
no,
by this.
No.
Isn't it a nonsensical requirement, though?
It is the law. And you know what they say about the law?
Why must you register as a workplace
I hear Eric's question
separately?
that it might be obvious. It might be obvious that you're a workplace.
No.
So it's not obvious?
It is not obvious because have you registered as like I said, WIBA? Your claim will fail in WIBA if you work in an unregistered workplace. Because the first word of WIBA is work. So where were you? Were you at work or were you at home? So the statutory space works upon these definitions which are written in stone.
I'm sorry, I'm just getting pedantic here, right? On
That's
this
very
particular
fair. It's very fair.
When the crafters of this law were putting that requirement there,
yes,
right?
Yes.
What was their thinking? If, for instance, I'm operating an office in Nairobi, it's a workplace, isn't it?
Yes.
I go to the authorities in the city county government, I apply for a business permit.
Correct.
Okay? Which I'm required to display. I'm also required to take a fire safety permit with the city of Nairobi.
Yes.
But you're saying that all those places, unless I have registered my office with this ministry, it is not a workplace.
No, it is a workplace, but it is
unregistered workplace.
Yes.
Isn't that a duplication of effort? Isn't that just telling me, so I'm starting an office, I go and register to be with those ones, I go and take a license here, I go to...
The only reason I'm doing all of this registration is because I am a workplace.
Yes.
So it should be obvious to everybody.
Shouldn't it be obvious?
There's also a distinction between county laws and acts of parliament. The Nairobi City County has its bylaws which require you to get your business permit and your fire clearance through the Nairobi Fire Brigade.
Okay.
This is about the nation. This is national legislation which supersedes county legislation.
I know.
So this is what the government of Kenya in its wisdom has legislated for. And it is supreme.
Okay.
I'm just thinking, and you're a lawyer, you of course understand law. Maybe the Director General of DOSH should use these other officers as his agent. Use the county as your agent. So as long as the county is issuing a license, then that
direct registration. There should be a line on the application that says we're registering
or sends
for
this information to
status.
the
and hence this discussion.
Yeah.
But I know in other jurisdictions, like in the UK, that is happening.
Okay. I know Eric was going to break. Just one question as we're going into that. So I'm going to go back to the issue of schools.
Yes.
Right? I would like us to look at some of the requirements that are absolutely necessary for schools, especially with the boarding function, to operate under when it comes to housing children in school. And what is a bare minimum? What are the bare minimums to then have children living in school when it comes to fire?
So, since we have established that school is a workplace, the bare minimum you must have is adequate means of escape or egress. Meaning you must have alternative fire exits. You cannot just have one way in, one way out, unless you're a very tiny room. But if we're talking about dormitories, it is incumbent that you then, if you will lose one in a fire, which usually is the case, and we always say you might even, it's more probable that you will use the main one. If you then lose that one, you must have an alternative. And depending on the number and the capacity of people in that dormitory, the more the exits become exponential. So if we're having hundreds of people and we're having 100, 200, there's a new building code, and I was reading it the other day, and the exits just continue to increase according to the occupancy. So you must have exits, you must have signage to tell me this direction, that direction. You must have an alternative lighting system so that in the darkness, Dormitories are sleeping accommodation, very risky because people are asleep. You must have a method of detecting fire and providing warning, which is more commonly known as a fire alarm system. So one, it detects the smoke, and two, sends a warning signal. You must have a minimum threshold of firefighting equipment in terms of portable fire extinguishers, and even to larger buildings, fire hose reels, fire hydrants, sprinkler systems, fire suppression systems. You must have maps, which I saw at the entrance of your office, showing you a detailed evacuation route. You must prepare a fire safety policy detailing the procedures and the responsibilities of all the people within that workplace. You must have training every 2 years, training approved by DOSHS, the regulator, every 2 years, following their curriculum. You must have fire staders who are trained on an annual basis, following the same curriculum, DOSHS curriculum. You must have first aid rooms if you employ more than 500 people. You must have a nurse if those are now the first aid regulations. They say that if you have more than 500 staff, you must have a first aid room. It must have a nurse. It must have the equipment, stethoscopes, blood pressure monitors, and an examination couch, a table, a chair, a sink. These are statutory minimum requirements. Minimum, I repeat.
Then Kenya is a walking disaster.
Let's take a break. let's just take a break. We are talking about fire. Does the law in the Republic of Kenya recognize fire? Yes. There's an Occupational Safety, Health and Safety Act. That's what it's called, right?
Yes, Occupational Safety and Health Act 2007.
Safety and Health Act. There's a regulator on matters of fire in this country. It's called DOSHS, the Directorate of Occupational Safety and Health Safety. Health Safety Standards. Health Services.
Directorate of Occupational Safety and Health Services.
And Health Services. That's a regulator on these matters. So all these things are in place. Now we are coming to the ground and seeing, so is it enforceable? Is it being enforced? Wilson Goko is an advocate of the High Court and a fire safety auditor, licensed by the DOSHS. We'll be back shortly.
The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Ready to take your farm to the next level? The Farm Kenya Annual Mkulima Expo in Kitale is the place to be. Circle the dates, 27th and 29th of September at Ndura Grounds. This year's game-changing theme, safe harvesting and storage, bigger profits. Get hands-on with cutting-edge tech, unlock the secrets of safe storage, and dive into farm-to-fork innovations. Rub shoulders with top players from seed companies, mechanization pros, storage experts, and more, all under one roof. Farmers, MSMEs, researchers, investors, this event is tailor-made for you. It's your shot to elevate your farm and maximize your gains. Don't just watch from the sidelines. Be part of the action at the Farm Kenya Expo. Brought to you by Farm Kenya. Powering the future of farming, transforming lives.
Bring it.
3 to 7 p.m. doesn't need to be the dreary end-of-day routine.
Delicate.
So hold on. So you do your whole body aside from your nipples. That's what you're saying.
Tune in to the Spice Drive Monday to Friday and get your engine started.
The weather with SpiceFM.
Sunny conditions in Nairobi, 14 degrees. We'll see highs of 27 and highs of 25, and a sunny in Nakuru at 15. It's 16 and sunny in Nyeri with highs of 26, and 23 will be the high in a sunny Eldoret at 13. It's 25 and sunny in Mombasa. We'll see highs of 30, and 30 as well will be the high in a partly sunny Malindi at 26. Kisumu is sunny at 20, highs of 30 going into the weekend, and mostly sunny at 17 in Kakamega, with highs of 29. It's 18 and sunny in Kampala with highs of 30, while we're looking into sunny conditions at 23. In Dar es Salaam, going to highs of 30. Johannesburg, sunny at 11 with highs of 26, while Mogadishu will be sunny through Friday, going to highs of 30 and lows of 25. It's a mostly cloudy morning in Addis Ababa at 13, highs of 21 and lows of 11, while Lagos is cloudy at 25. We'll see highs of 30. Rain showers continue in Kinshasa, currently at 22, going to highs of 32.
Chilled Spice.
Take a look at the Eastern Bypass, and traffic is heavy in both directions, coming in through towards North Airport Road and going out from Embakasi out towards the Outer Ring Junction. So that's busy. We're looking at some traffic also then connecting through towards the Cabanas interchange, and that's going to continue for some time. So in and outbound traffic is doing a thing there. It's also pretty busy coming in to Langata Road. It's ebbing and flowing, but it looks better now. Survey on the Thika Superhighway out towards the Pangani Tunnel, very busy. We're looking at bumper-to-bumper traffic till now. And the Limuru Road traffic coming and going. Lower Kabete still remains heavy. And James Gishiro, as you approach the Red Hill Link Road, is also pretty busy as well. Inbound traffic is more than outbound, but hey, all the same, let's see what happens as we come out of it soon. SpiceFM, KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Minutes to 9. Our conversation with Wilson Goko continues. We're talking about laws and regulations governing fire safety in Kenya. So the minimum requirements that you've read here, I mean, you can just think many public places do not meet these requirements, right?
Yes.
If we just want to focus on school, because Hillside and Russia is still fresh in our minds, and fear among very many parents is just, schools and the safety of their children. So then, and you said, it's just a small percentage of our schools would actually be found to be fit. So who should enforce this? We know it's DOSH, right? Do they have the capacity to enforce this? And should it be enforcement more or awareness creation more? Which one should come first? Are these school communities aware that these are the minimums? Does a school principal or a school board of management know that when it comes to fire, these are the minimums that we ought to have and we should always adhere to them?
According to my reading of this manual, all those issues have been addressed here. The Board of Management should set up a committee with the mandate of safety. Head teachers should take certain minimum actions to ensure the safety of the pupils, students, and the teachers. Awareness, there can always be more awareness. Awareness should come first before you remove the big stick. And that's why I was saying, like in schools, when I was a young boy, we used to do fire drills. That was many years ago. I don't know that fire drills are being done in 2024.
Are they really?
Yeah.
I don't think
I
so.
was in primary school more than 40 years ago, and we were doing fire drills. That brought a safety culture in that generation. So awareness should come first. Enforcement is always the last option. Awareness will drive the safety culture more than the stick.
There's also the reason. And that I think is why we have a regulator, isn't it? But then I have to go back to the capacity question. Is that, does the regulator then have enough capacity? If we're talking about all areas where anybody works, right? And let's look at schools where we have 40,000 registered schools in Kenya. Does the regulator have capacity to ensure and enforce these standards in 40,000 schools in Kenya today?
I'll speak as to what I know. What I know is that we are over 100 approved, licensed fire safety auditors in Kenya. Experts who traverse the entire nation doing this on a daily basis. So with that kind of number, it is not enough. 100 plus is not enough. We need more. So that is why we were even brought on board as independent people, but approved and licensed by the government. So DOSH is doing what they can and what they should do. They've got people out there to do these audits.
I'm sorry, Wilson, I don't think they're doing what they can. There's still a lot more. So, like you've just said, they've only licensed 100. For all the workplaces, registered and unregistered in this country, 100 fire auditors is a drop in the ocean. If you just think about schools alone, over 40,000. If you just think about government offices, starting from a chief's office all the way to State House. Those are many offices. Think then in the private sector. Think about public places, markets and all. Think about homes, because homes are also workspaces. All those are too many. But beyond money and having a permanent staff in the office, maybe there are other ways in which DOSH could think of enforcing, and that's awareness creation. How much of that do we see? And I'm not asking you, I'm just posing it out there. How much of it do we see when school heads meet for their annual school principals, whatever? When the Council of Governors is meeting for their biannual annual governors conference, when all these are meeting, when do we see DOSH there? Because that's one place they come and say, listen, people, this is what the law says. This is what we encourage you to do, and you can start from this level, go beyond this to that level, and we can reach out. You can reach out to us for further assistance. Do we see them doing that?
Well, I'm here today.
Well,
so,
yes, you're here today.
Yes, I'm here today, and I'm approved by DOSH.
I'll give you that.
It is in my role as a fire safety auditor, and also secondary to that as an advocate of the High Court, to educate and inform my fellow Kenyans about these things.
Okay.
So we have started, and you've given me this good platform to do that. Thank you very much.
I want to look at something very basic in terms of detection. You mentioned that every space, of the list of things that you mentioned, one of them was fire detectors.
Yes.
We have too many fires. Again, I'm sorry, but I'm going to stay with schools.
Yes.
We have too many fires happening. I see you looking around for fire detectors.
We have.
There's one there. There's one there. So that there must be one in these spaces, right? So what exactly does a fire detector do? And there's a reason why I'm asking. So please go ahead.
There are two types of fire detectors. There's a smoke detector. It detects smoke particles and then sends a signal to a control panel, which subsequently sends a signal to bells and sirens and gives a warning.
Okay.
So detection, signal, warning.
It's loud, we will hear it,
Yes,
then
and
we can now...
out.
Okay.
There's a fire. Then there's a heat detector. It detects a rapid rise in heat from maybe room temperature to 68 degrees in a matter of seconds. It does the same thing, sends a signal to the panel, to the bells, fire.
Okay.
So those are what detectors do.
Okay, so that's that. Park that. Now, during a fire drill, I remember also when I was in elementary school that we do, fire, then we'd all go to the flag. We knew where we would go. There was a fire drill.
Fire assembly.
Yes, it was a fire assembly point. We knew where everything was. But we knew that because we would hear the signal, and we knew that when we heard the signal, this is what we were supposed to do.
Correct.
Right? Correct. So during a fire drill, now when we have these fire detectors, I assume that the fire marshal or the, I don't know what you would call them, the people who are fire marshals, okay, they are the ones who would tell you, everybody, should you hear this sound, and you would actually play it during the drill. Should you hear this sound, this is what you are meant to do.
Exactly.
Whether you are in class, whether you are sleeping in the dorm, whether you are somewhere in the field, whatever.
Correct.
This is what you are meant to do in the event that you hear this sound.
Correct.
So all of this activity happens during a drill, right?
Yes.
Okay. So in a school, Asha Hill in Nyeri County,
yes,
if there was regular drilling,
yes,
this fire drill,
yes,
whether children were asleep, whether workers were, etc.,
yes, day or night, if there were regular drills and if there were fire detectors, and if there were all of these things that you talk about, and I'm saying if very painfully here, that in the middle of the night, the signal goes off. Children would have been able to de-escalate, get out of their rooms, go to the fire assembly point, and the severity of damage would have been lower. Correct.
Is that what we're saying?
Correct, precisely.
Okay.
The fire drills are statutory minimums. You must do at least one every 12 months. Record the findings and take action on what you find. Education and awareness comes before the drill, so that they can know how does it sound, where are we going, who are the fire marshals. Your fire marshal here told me she has a vest, so that she can be easily identifiable. And then she will lead us and marshal us to the fire assembly through the exits. All these things are supposed to be audited on an annual basis. And it is an offense not to have your audit done on an annual basis by a approved auditor who is approved by DOSHS. So they can come and ascertain your level of preparedness and your level of compliance with the minimum safety regulations. So training, I told you there's a syllabus written by DOSHS for fire safety marshals, fire safety training. It's a curriculum which you must do every 2 years. There's one for first aiders, it's annual. There's one for health and safety committees, which is done, as the Act says, from time to time, which means when you have maybe significant changes in your committee, significant movement in and out, but you must form a committee if you have 20 or more employees, and they must receive the 4-day OSH committee statutory training minimum, so they can know how to discharge their functions and how to monitor all these things that we're talking about. Yes.
Can you have, in the boarding schools now, so we're talking about, if we're in a high school, we're talking about children between the ages of 13 and 18.
Yes.
Can you have children as, I don't know, minor marshals or somebody who would be able to send an alarm, wake up others?
Actually, prefects. Actually, the prefects can form part of the support team, but we want these duties, even if you look at the manual, are being delegated to the head teacher and staff.
Okay.
But co-opting, I remember in high school you also have 18-year-olds, adults who are now there maybe in the fourth form or such. Co-opting those head boys and prefects to act as marshals is not a bad idea. Those are people who can, on the spot, will be with the boys or girls in the dorm when the incident happens. That's an excellent idea, and I think it can work excellently if practiced and awareness is brought and a lot of training is done to empower that group, because they are the ones, they are the first responders, so to speak. Before the matron or the whoever comes from their house, those are, so yes, some of these young men and young women are very able, and they're adults.
And they're leaders.
And they're leaders
anyway.
And they can do it. It's not rocket science. Yes.
When these tragedies occur, we see the Ministry of Education, and now this recent one, the Ministry of Education is working with the Ministry of Interior to conduct an audit of the safety standards in our schools.
Yes.
Is that the right approach?
It is, provided they also co-opt DOSHS and other relevant stakeholders. It is important to get all the experts involved in this process. There is no monopoly on knowledge for fire safety. We're not claiming to have it, but we are saying if we all sit round, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Works, Ministry of Interior, Ministry of Labour, we are all stakeholders.
But Labour should be included.
Must be
included. Right?
It is.
So in the absence of Ministry of Labour and DOSHS, then these audits are not going to be helpful.
They will be helpful, but they will lack a vital and key contribution by the experts in that field. When you write a manual like this, you should have people from DOSHS having input. You should have other people from Red Cross and other agencies we have mentioned also having input. But it is not correct not to have DOSHS not involved. They are the regulator of safety in workplaces in Kenya.
Should DOSHS take the lead in these audits? Right now, there are audits in these schools because we are auditing whether, because of what we've seen in schools, we want to check whether our schools are actually fire ready.
Yes.
Right? Should the regulator be taking the lead in this?
I think they must be in that group. As to who takes the lead, that is moot. Because what we are trying to achieve here is upgrading our safety standards.
Yeah, but the law gives this regulator the power and authority to be the one who is a say on matters of safety, fire safety,
if you
and
put
health
it
safety.
that way, then the answer is yes.
So the job of the regulator is to do exactly that, to go across the country and to check and audit the safety and enforce the law, right?
Correct.
Okay. So I put it to you that then it's the regulator who should be leading this, can be supported by Ngaos. The Ngaos can then also get the endorsement of the Ministry of Education so that the school heads are aware that this is happening and they'll be the ones to implement anyway. But it should be the regulator who is doing an audit. The report that should be taken to the president, because they promised a report to the president, should come from the regulator. The law gives that responsibility to DOSHS.
That is your view. I don't see anything wrong with it.
Do you see anything wrong with it?
No, I don't. But that should be, I think those are the messages then that should be amplified at this point, isn't it? Because, again, I mean, somebody said the other thing, another thing, and we know that coming to around this time, leave accidents aside, but we're getting into, it's what they call fire season in schools. It is. Because we go towards exam period.
Yes.
So you have a pre-dereliction.
Makes it even sadder.
Absolutely. To that point where, Lord, we know that these things will happen, but then we cry after the fact. Right? So
that's why I say the Ministry of Education.
I don't know. I find
the Ministry of Education should not be doing this work. Okay? The Ministry of Education is the workplace. Wilson, if there are incidences of fire here, who will investigate and who will check that now, going forward, this workplace is safe? It is you, isn't it?
We
can't tell Flora.
Like
We can't tell Flora, our fire marshal, to now come and start checking. So is the Standard Group Center now safe? Shouldn't.
It is an auditor to come and audit fire safety compliance.
The Ministry of Education should not, therefore, be doing this audit. It should be supporting. Flora will accompany you as you audit. Get my point now?
I get your point.
I
get your point.
So now when we go back to that horrific number that you've given us, because for me it's horrendous, that when we talk about 10%, maybe you said even 10%.
That is my personal opinion based on my experience and roaming around the Republic. It is not accurate, but of course, that is my opinion.
Wilson, even if we said that 50%, let's even say 50%.
Not good enough.
It's not good enough. Let's say that 50% of the schools in this country, and again, you know why I'm staying on schools.
Yes.
Let's say that 50% of the schools in this country are fire ready. That is not enough. 50% will take you nowhere with an education. It'll take you nowhere with performance at work. It'll take you nowhere with even when you're born as a baby and the doctor holds you up upside down and says, yeah, this baby's operating at 50%. No, 50% will take you nowhere. So are we serious then about the things that we're talking about? Or are we ready to bury 21 boys every time? Are we ready to do that? And I think those are the questions that we must ask that will then fuel our action towards saying that, you know what, no, 100 fire auditors who are doing some painstaking hard work like yourself, who are doing this difficult work is nowhere near enough. That we know that there are standards, but we don't keep them. They have been set, but they are not kept. And then we bury children, or that we have destruction, wanton destruction all over the place. We shouldn't have to wait for disaster to strike
do you know what
to do something
law is
about.
Called in the past, when I was doing my studies, it's called tombstone legislation.
Wow.
Sometimes when things go wrong, people die. When people die, the public and the government lose their appetite and legislate. So you'll always find when there is maybe school fires, something, if in Europe when there was train fires, stadium fires, you have heard of in football stadia, people dying, nightclubs.
Yep.
This is unfortunately globally. Legislation regarding safety usually comes after deaths. It is not unusual. It is the saddest thing I've encountered, which is why I stopped the practice of law, mainly to concentrate on this area. Let me prevent rather than sue.
Yes.
That's my approach.
Yes.
Why am I suing you? Why are you doing the wrong thing? Wacha tukusaidie kwanza.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Court is the place of last resort. Let's do it. Put the cat where it belongs.
Okay, before the horse.
Yes.
Wilson, thank you very much for today. We'll ask you to come again.
Yep.
So we
I
can
will
create
be
more
happy
and more
to
awareness.
come here as many times as you would have me.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Wilson Goko is a fire safety auditor licensed by the regulator in Kenya and approved by the regulator in Kenya, who is the Directorate of Occupational Safety and Health Services at the Ministry of Labour and Social Protection. Keep it here for more conversations in the next hour. It's 9 a.m.
Spice up your life. SpiceFM.
Good morning. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Now, the High Court in Nairobi has issued temporary orders barring the Office of the Directorate of Public Prosecutions from charging businessman Jimmy Wanjigi pending hearing and determination of a case filed. The court also last month granted Wanjigi relief after issuing orders barring his prosecution over allegations of illegal firearm possessions. Justice Mwamuye on August 20th, 2024 ruled in favor of the former presidential candidate, stopping the ODPP from confiscating, retaining or interfering with any firearms registered to him. Nakuru MP Didmus Barasa has announced that he will be presenting the impeachment motion against Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua in Parliament. Barasa claims that he has received the support of 240 members of Parliament who have signed the motion, which is awaiting approval by the National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula before presenting it officially to Parliament. Now, Barasa says he is optimistic that the motion will be slotted for first time Tuesday next week after Wetangula approves it. Earlier, MPs from the Western region met to discuss how the motion will be presented in Parliament and concluded that Barasa will be the one to present the motion. And members of Parliament have continued to defend NGCDF even after it was outlawed by the court. Kisses Member of Parliament Julius Ruto has said that NGCDF brought development to the grassroots.
Ilikuja ikalete usawa kimaendeleo kwa nchi zote za Kenya. Wakati ule mwingine awali maendeleo ilikuwa inaelekea mahali siasa ipo. Wengine walikuwa naumia. Wakati ule tulikuwa tunafanya marambe kujenga shule ya matope. Kama mnakumbuka, mimi sijasahau. Wakati marehemu Makto alikuwa anaishi, huyo ndio alikuwa kiongozi tunamtafuta, akuja atuchangie, alafu tukipata 80,000 tunajenga shule ya matope yenye mimi nilisomea. Shule yangu ya Tuluamu Twin Primary. Lakini wakati CDF ilikuja tukaona mabadiliko. Na tena kwa usawa. Kwa kuwa CDF ilikuwa inaangalia haiangalii chama, inaangalia mbunge, eneo bunge. NGCDF yenye nimewaelezea inasimamiwa na wananchi wenyewe. So kumaanisha public participation is unquestionable.
And the Nyayo Estate residents and property owners are now demanding government support and intervention against alleged illegal land grabbing by unknown private developers. The residents claim there is unauthorized construction ongoing in their land and that they have received several threats of sexual abuse, causing anxiety among sections of the community. The estate was conceptualized by the national government in 1998 and serves as a home to thousands of residents with a total of 4,774 housing units, serving as the biggest customers of NSSF.
Over the last few weeks, we have been trying to find out why they let a foundation be built on that same piece of land, and when we tried to ask and went to the grounds, there were goons. They hurled insults, they threw dead creatures, they did a whole lot of things, and even went ahead to threaten some of the ladies with rape.
We just want NSSF to go through with their contract, and give us what they promised, because this is one of the things that led us to buy property here.
With the grabbing of this 817, it is assumed right now that everybody who lives in Nyayo can be able to take their children to private school, which is far from the truth. We have some people who probably bought their property and then in the course of living there, they lost their jobs. So they can no longer take their children to private schools. So that is why we are agitating for the construction of this property, so that even children of people who do not have funds to take their children to private school can be able to do that.
Now, Sudan's army launched artillery and airstrikes in Sudan's capital in its biggest operation to regain ground there since early in 17-month war with the rapid support forces, witnesses and military confirmed this now. The push by the army, which lost control of most of the capital at the start of the conflict, came ahead of an address by its commander, General Abdel Fattah el-Burhan, at the United Nations General Assembly in New York. Now, witnesses reported heavy bombardments and clashes as army troops tried to cross bridges across the Nile, connecting the three adjoining cities that make up the greater capital of Khartoum, Omdurman and Bahri. This is News. I'm Dennis Asha. Good morning.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, still in traffic hour this morning, taking a quick look at the Thika Superhighway. The traffic still coming off Survey through to the city, and that's still heavy. You have no service lanes thereafter, so that's why it slows down some. Also, coming off of Limuru Road, just a little bit of that left as well. And Kangunda Road looking good. On the Eastern Bypass, where we had some craziness earlier, still a little bit chunky here and there, but I think it'll be fine without any issues coming in through towards North Airport Road. All right, keeping an eye on things. Let's see. We're coming out of traffic hour early, it would appear. We'll talk on SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
It is 7 minutes after 9. Kenya's biggest conversation. We come to the final hour of the show this week. 21 young boys died at a fire incident in the Russia Hillside Academy. The story here is their fears of cover-up as the burials of the 21 children who died in a school fire in Nyeri began yesterday. Questions are being asked about the silence of the investigations into the tragedy. 9 victims were buried yesterday. 2 boys are still admitted to hospital. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua led the families and mourners in an emotional service at Muga Stadium in Kieni constituency. 21 is not just a number. They are young, promising young men with families at home. Robbie Brandon Muga Ogekonyo, 13 years old. Timothy Weru Gadogo, 13 years old. John Komu Njuguna, 13. Michael Ndongo Muredi, 12. Roy Victor Muturi Chege, 12. Ernest Ngaroya Mwangi, 12. Travis John Kariuki Munyeki, 12. Kent Mungai Mwangi, 13. Timothy Wamai Gedenji, 14. Ferdinand Karuko Washira, 12. Samvin Munene Maina, 12. Louis Mashira Gaku, 11. Robinson Theuri Kamitha, 13. Kelvin Kabogo Jogu, 13. Louis Wairago Maina, 12. Success Kingori Wanjao, 12. John Munga Gedenji, 12. Emmanuel Maina Gedenji, 13. Collins Muridi Washira, 11. Emmanuel Kirago Gashorohio, 13. And Bernard Warutere Kuria, 12. It's not 21 as a number. It is 21 names. It is 21 boys. 11, 12, 13, 14. Young. They died in a fire.
Yes, they did. And it breaks my heart because every single one of those deaths could have been avoided. That's what breaks my heart.
Yep.
That you didn't need to. And the sadder thing is that this is going to continue to happen in equal or more measure if we do not do the things that we are supposed to do. Whether it is a law that has been set or it is by virtue of just human conscience alone. if we do not do the things that we are supposed to do, in equal or in greater measure, tragedies like this will continue to happen. And it goes back to the question of how much we value. How much do you value the Kenyan life? Whether you're feeding a child, educating them, keeping them safe, whether you're making sure there's food available in the country, whether you're creating healthcare, whether you're creating proper road infrastructure, where do you value? Where do you place your value? What is your value meter? Because if it was high, you would make sure that the standards that are required by law would be set. You would make sure that there's proper reporting. Even after the fact, you would make sure that you tell your people what exactly happened and what you are doing to make sure that it doesn't happen again. If your value meter was high, you would. The very mundane thing that you're supposed to do, check that this thing exists, you would do it. If you're supposed to report on a certain thing, whether it's an inadequacy, an overflow, you would do it. But by virtue of the fact that we do not, it only points to we don't see a tragedy or a disaster happening, and we don't think anything is going to happen. So we don't keep our standards high.
You know, Omboko Milema is the chairman of KUPPET. He says, it's like the Ministry of Education wants the country to forget that 21 children died. Somebody must be called to account. How long shall we talk about a safety manual that is not being observed? The questions asked include the last inspection, if any, by the Ministry of Education before the tragedy, and if the school had been inspected by the county government for compliance with safety regulations. Now we know it's not just the county government or the Ministry of Education. It's actually a department, a directorate in the Ministry of Labour and Social Protection. The directorate that has been mandated by law to be the regulator of fire standards in the country and the enforcer of fire standards in the country. Has this directorate ever sent any of its certified auditors to this school? At all. There are questions about compliance in the building materials after it emerged that part of the dormitory was made out of timber. The government recommends that such should be made of permanent material. President Ruto promised investigations into the fire tragedy. He said, I instruct relevant authorities to thoroughly investigate this horrific incident. Those responsible will be held to account. Who's leading the investigation? Because there's a matter of death, DCI comes in. But is the directorate of this whatever dosh, is it part of this investigation? Is it doing its own investigation? The Cabinet Secretary for Education said, we are keen to establish the cause of this tragedy. The DCI is leading in this process. We are also carrying out an audit to establish any omission on the part of our officers. We will hold to account anybody found culpable. We have also commissioned a nationwide audit of public and boarding schools to determine the level of compliance with the school's safety manual. Again, I ask, during this entire time of tragedy of fire, have you heard of that directorate?
Did you know that DOSH existed?
It's the first time that I and many of us have heard of this Directorate of Occupational Safety and Health Services. It exists. Created by law, the Occupational Safety and Health Act. With regulations, the fire safety reduction rules in place.
That anybody who classifies as a workspace in this country then is supposed to abide by.
Yes.
That's the one that blows my mind.
Okay.
That it completely blows my mind. That they are aware. Everybody is aware that if you are operating within a workspace, then the awareness of certain things that you should do then should be top priority for you. But it is clear that that doesn't exist. But Eric, I have to go back to the thing that I said. If you have a set of requirements that are supposed to govern how you deal with spaces where humans are supposed to be kept safe, and it is a suggestion to you, then really
it just becomes that. It just becomes that a suggestion. So this needs to actually happen, that we get the proper agencies doing the proper job that they were established to do by law.
Do your job.
Yeah. Today, I know Wilson was, bringing that awareness, and thank you to him. Now we know where to direct all our fingers at. It is that entity called that Directorate of Occupational Safety and Health Services. Do your job. Do your job.
Do your job.
Our next guest is here. He's late. He'll tell us why he's late. Senator Dan Manzo is a senator for Makueni County. No, he's a senator from Makueni County.
From.
These senators have started coming with their own issues now. Their definition of
grammar.
Senator, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Yeah.
My apologies. I had many things to do in the morning.
That's not a problem,
but
my friend.
I'm happy. I finally got here. I also assumed the time you drive here is, early in the morning you come faster than when it's 9 o'clock. So my apologies.
Not accepted, but we shall move on. Karibu though, it's good to have you back here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
CT says hi, he's not around, but he left us with a proverb. But before the proverb, you talk, you are a politician.
Yes.
You are constantly on the phone. Someone has called you, they're talking, or you need to call somebody.
Yes.
Somebody has called you, you need to coordinate. So you want to make sure that you are constantly able to communicate, right? So the people who work with you, let's say your PA, your assistants, your researchers, also need to be able to communicate because they are talking to many people across Makueni County, across the country, so they can bring information to you.
That's true.
You have to make sure that those people are also able to call without saying insufficient funds.
That's right.
Safaricom came up with a package, and they called it the all-in-one.
Oh my goodness.
Package, because they noticed that sometimes Senator Manzo's PA would be calling the senator and briefing the senator on something, an assignment that he had been given to do, and he's reporting back, and then it's like, Kango Konye. Because Imeisha.
That's right.
And then he has to go and buy, new airtime, and then now call you, and then we continue the conversation. By the time he's trying to call you back, he finds you have been called by somebody else.
Yes.
So,
Or I'm already in session.
Or you're
There
already
you
in
go.
session.
Back to session. You can't.
Yes.
So the all-in-one package says, if you buy this package for a month, 30 days, you get airtime. That's calling minutes. You get SMSs. You get data. And you get WhatsApp for free.
Wow.
And it ranges from 500. 500 gives you a different package. 1,000 different package. For example, 2,000.
Yes.
2,000 gives you 1,000 minutes of call time.
Oh my goodness.
2,000 SMSs. 17 GB of data. And free WhatsApp. And it's valid for 30 days.
Wow, the CEO of Safaricom is very brilliant. He went to school with me.
That's why he's brilliant.
That's why he's brilliant. He had to land somewhere. Okay.
You brilliant people. Very good. Yeah. So let me give you the day's proverb. And the proverbs this week are from Senegal.
Senegal?
Yes. Today's proverb. If you speak to him who understands you. If you speak to him who understands you. What's your interpretation of that proverb?
Meaning, if the person doesn't understand you, don't bother speaking to them. You may be disappointed, or it may end up in a quarrel. So it's a good proverb. You learn something from it. Maybe for politicians, we should shut up to those who don't want to speak to us. Maybe. Maybe that's why Gachagua is not talking to Ruto.
It's a misunderstanding.
Somebody's not understanding something.
So stop speaking.
So the first thing is and I haven't been speaking for quite a while.
Yeah.
You see, even Gachagua has been removed from WhatsApp. It started from silence.
He has been lefted from a WhatsApp group.
And now when you are removed from no communication at all, even when the president leaves the country, he doesn't say. So the deputy doesn't know he's already left.
Wait. It's a bad situation to be in, isn't it?
Yeah, and that proverb serves it right.
We hear from the grapevine that the Senate is facing a biting cash crunch.
A serious one.
What's the issue?
Devolution is very expensive. And you see, I'll give you an example, like the Committee of Agriculture has a lot of bills. And you see, when you do public participation, that's where many bills fail. And then you are unable to sample the country sufficiently. And you need also to do participation with the governors. You need to do with COG. Then you find as a committee you are not allocated enough money to sample out the country sufficiently. And probably what will be fair, in the minimum, if you are doing public participation, it must be 25 counties at least. They will give you a yes or a no, and it must be in different parts of the regions of the country. So that has not happened over quite a while. And that's why when a lot of our bills, when they migrate to the National Assembly, they crash there. There will be so many issues be raised. Oh, you mean there is this bill? We also grow dengue. We never saw you people. There will be all manner of things. And if you are dealing with cotton, the same thing. If you are dealing with fishing, the same thing. So the committees have not, when you do the share of National Assembly and Senate, when you get their budget and you share out, then you find the work for Senate is so loading. It's big time, and then we once in a year do Senate Mashinani. Like this year, by now we should have already gone to Busia, but it was postponed to end of October to allow the government to look for funds to be able to do that.
What does this mean that you don't have money?
It's a budget which has been reduced, and not only us. You saw a bill come back from the president, Division of Revenue Bill, coming back to Senate with the direction that now that finance bill never was, that you reduce the money for development for the counties. I mean, it has never happened like that. That's an illegality in itself.
So what you're facing, is it a reduction in budget, or is it no money coming to the Senate? What are we dealing with here? Because see, a cash crunch is where you are supposed to be getting 100 shillings as budgeted, but you don't have the 100 shillings. Or are you saying that we would have wanted to have 100 shillings, but the budget came at 50? What are we dealing with?
Both of them have happened. You have a proposed budget, which Treasury has no money for. In fact, I've been in Parliament for many years. For the first time in the last 2 years, have activities for Parliament in total delayed, including delay of salaries. I've never seen it, including delay of payment of our staff. It has never happened, all the years Justin Muturi was Speaker or during those other regimes. But right now, Parliament is the last place to squeeze. Because if Treasury squeezes Parliament can squeeze back. But it's unable to fight back. You go to Treasury, Honorable Badi will tell you, I don't have money. So although you have a budget, and other than reducing, and it makes it very difficult, to legislate, and more important, for devolution. I was very surprised when you got a proposal to reduce money for development. It must always be added or increased for counties. And that is yet to be sorted out because that Division of Revenue Bill has not, come to final conclusion. Really, as a senator, can you vote to reduce the money in your account? I think that bill must fail because if you reduce money in your account, then it means wide up Senate. There's no need to have Senate. Close it down.
Let me ask you, Senator. Yes. So if you look at reduced funding, walk us through some of the things that means. If there's reduced funding, if there's a cut, what does it mean that Senate now is no longer able to do?
It means when making our law and through the committees, it means the work of the committees is reduced. And I've given you a very good example of public participation. Every single committee has to go back to public on any legislative proposal, including us. When you are in, I said, the Committee of Agriculture, it must sample out the country properly. And you know what? That's why we went very wrong with the law of the levies. The house levies. You see, we never went for public participation. We asked for it. It was overruled, and mainly because of budgetary constraint and time framework. The way the president needed that bill urgent on his desk for signature, and that's why it's an illegal bill. We're already arguing it in court. The judges are here to decide. But we never went for public participation. If you don't do public participation, you have not made law under the Constitution. Even if National Assembly does public participation, we must also do public participation when the bills come to Senate. And the bills which come to Senate deal with the devolution. And therefore, you must reach the counties. You must find out in Mombasa how much land does the government have to build the housing. What is there in Garissa? What is there in Mandera? What is there in Kisumu? And in fact, from the feedback we get from senators who come from those areas, really there is no such land. And the little available for government, if you build on it a private house, haven't you not allocated this land to a private person? All that feedback we never did. And the most unfortunate thing, about the role of Senate. So I think the government must not only just allocate budget, but also go on to actualize it. And that's not only happening to Senate, it is happening to every ministry. If you visit different ministries, they are unable to function. So President Ruto has a closely down government. It is not that Kenya doesn't have money.
Okay.
Kenya has a lot of money.
So the budget was readjusted to come back to the realities, right?
Yes, it was.
And the realities were what Kenyans are able to give in terms of tax.
Yes.
True?
Yes.
Because that's what Kenyan said. Kenyan said, we reject the finance bill. We are not able to raise an extra 300 billion shillings.
Yes.
That was the message from Kenyans.
That's right.
So the executive went back to parliament and said, Kenyans are not able to raise the 300 extra billion, so let's readjust our budget.
No, that's not what happened.
What happened?
Finance Bill 2024 was declined by Kenyans. And therefore, they went back to Finance Bill 2023, which covered quite a bit.
Minus
the problem there, minus all this new proposal.
Yes.
Even if you make the new proposal and even if you raise money from Kenyans and you cannot manage the money, you get all of it stolen. You get all of it reallocated to, projects where people are just harvesting the money, where a short job is done, where the bill of quantities is not followed. If you are making roads, the biggest problem has been running government. You've got the president running around the country unnecessarily. It is very expensive to move the president. You've got the president traveling abroad unnecessarily with so many people who have no role in whatever they are going to do. In fact, it's a shame even to those countries. For example, when they went to America, what did America need really to do anything to us or to get any message from us? It needed the president, probably his wife, the Minister for Foreign Affairs, and our office in Washington, D.C. What are the rest of the people for?
The delegation that's currently in New York with the president.
Yes.
Do they all need to be there, including your
No, they don't.
Your colleague, Senator?
No, they should not be in the U.S. They're just wasting the Senate's money, the public money, for something you have not gone to achieve anything.
So
in fact, in Unga, the president alone is enough. You don't need anybody else. Nobody else is going to talk other than the president. These other sideshow meetings, it must be, our representation in Washington, in America, is enough. The ambassador is enough to do all that.
And we have two. One the ambassador to the UN, the other ambassador in America.
And they're more than enough. All these other people traveling there, that money should have been reallocated to do other things in the country, to do the roads, to do the legislative proposals and things like that. But there is a total disorganization in the government.
I was leading on to something with the earlier conversation, so let me bring it back. Okay, so there was a supplementary budget that went to Parliament, right, in July.
July, yes.
Which was to face the reality that with no Finance Act of 2024, therefore, the proposal to raise an extra 300 billion shillings or thereabouts has been rejected. We revert to last year's capacity. And the reality is that we were only able to raise 2.3 trillion shillings from ordinary taxes last year. Okay. And so let's readjust our budget. And that's what now you're operating with. But what you're saying and what we are hearing from others is that the National Treasury is not liquid enough to send money to all these required purposes.
It is in a liquid and part of it is there must be a lot of
They are not able to send money to Parliament so that it can do its job.
Because that's why all the money to the executive.
There is not enough money to send to counties. And you've also said if you go to some of these ministries and departments and agencies, you will find that they have not received money that they ought to have received now to start running some operations, right?
That's right.
Okay. Which means that our reality today is that we are not able to adequately finance operations of government with the taxes that we are collecting. That's our reality.
That's a reality, but it's only mismanagement of the monies we have and the monies we have borrowed, and we continue borrowing every other day. If we don't waste the money with unnecessary things, then the necessary things will be covered sufficiently, and we'll be able to cut ourselves to our requirements. There is a serious wastage in government. That's where it begins. There is serious corruption in government. As the President Uhuru admitted during his time, he said that we lose 2 billion shillings into corruption every day. So if you are losing that amount of money and you are raising, like we have raised a lot of money with the house levies, where is the money? You have not seen any houses being constructed anywhere. The money used to go and launch a road in Muranga, which was being relaunched. The money used just that day for setup was enough to grade that road to a very good standard. So they launched it and they never did anything to it. The so-called procurement, is all thuggery. You procure for somebody you have already known, and the people who do the procurement, they already know who they are going to give the business. So every other person being asked to compete is wasting time. And then instead of going by the BQ, you end up presenting to Kenyans as something weaker than the BQ. But the biggest place where we are losing money and we should save, it is the office of the president. Moving the president around is a very expensive affair. So the president should only move when we have when it is absolutely necessary. He should sit in the office and work.
Who should make sure that such things don't happen?
It is the House.
Parliament.
Parliament.
You have been in the National Assembly for many years, more than a term.
Yes.
And now you're in the Senate.
Yes.
You carry the cross, my friend.
We have not refused to carry the cross.
My brother, let me tell you.
What has happened is this, just like the proverb.
We are bringing the whips.
You better do.
And the spear. You are hanging on the cross this morning.
That is true.
So Parliament has failed
completely
in its job of oversighting the executive.
Completely.
And now Parliament is now finally bearing the brunt. Your staff are not getting paid on time.
Yes.
That should happen. That should continue. That should continue. Ili iwe funzo. But your staff should get their salary. You guys shouldn't. Let's take a break. Let's get a second break, Senator. 28 minutes to 10. Senator Dan Manzo from Makueni County is our guest today. We are talking about, cash-strapped government. The Parliament is not getting the money that it should be getting on time. The Senate has stalled. We talked about it yesterday. The Committee, for example, on Agriculture has said we are not going to be doing our public visits across the country. Senate itself is saying we wanted to do our Senate Mashinani, where we go and have our Senate sittings in Busia County. We are going to postpone that. Senate is saying we wanted to host the East Africa Parliamentary Games. We can't. We don't have money. Oh my God, what are we going to do? Staff at the Senate are not receiving their salaries on time. And when the Senate asks the National Treasury, CS Mbadi has told them, sasa mnataka nifanya nini? Sina pesa.
Yes, Lord.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Do you want to live out your life with the utmost convenience? A way of life that is empowered with the necessary tools and solutions to live out your life effortlessly? Then wait no more. Download Loop today and enjoy the best mobile money and banking worlds through a simple platform that delivers payment, credit, and saving services, while at the same time offering personalized journeys and deals to complement your interests and needs. Why wait? Just Loop it. Tune in to the Situation Room every morning and Spice Drive from 3 to 7 p.m. every Monday to Friday and learn more about Loop.
Ready to take your farm to the next level? The Farm Kenya Annual Mkulima Expo in Kitale is the place to be. Circle the dates, 27th and 29th of September at Ndura Grounds. This year's game-changing theme, safe harvesting and storage, bigger profits. Get hands-on with cutting-edge tech, unlock the secrets of safe storage, and dive into farm-to-fork innovations. Rub shoulders with top players from seed companies, mechanization pros, storage experts, and more, all under one roof. Farmers, MSMEs, researchers, investors, this event is tailor-made for you. It's your shot to elevate your farm and maximize your gains. Don't just watch from the sidelines. Be part of the action at the Farm Kenya Expo. Brought to you by Farm Kenya. Powering the future of farming, transforming lives.
Hey, baba boy, gas imeisha, shopping imeisha, na ujue tokens bado zinalia.
Msupa, nipe mbao na 20 minutes.
Mbao, like 20 bob.
Hey.
20 minutes, kwani kuna nini? Na ujue mi nataka kupika haki.
Jaber, kwani ujui daka mamilini every 20 minutes, halafu wanapea na 10 million every 20 minutes, na hadi kuna 3 millionaires every hour.
Daka mamili virahisi. Uko na nafasi 3 ya kuwa millionaire kila hour. Usipitwe. Cheza daka. Ushike mita yako sasa. Chagua nambari zako 4 za bahati and win up to 10 million every 20 minutes. Nenda kwenye paybill 440440. Account, Spice, amount. Cheza na shilingi 20 hadi shilingi 2,000 na ushinde mamilioni. Daka mita. Kuwa bingwa.
The weather with Spice FM.
Sunny in Nairobi, 18 degrees. We'll see highs of 27 and highs of 26. In a sunny Nakuru at 19. It's 19 and sunny in Nyeri with highs of 27. And 24 will be the high in a mostly sunny Eldoret at 18. We're looking at a sunny Mombasa at 26 with highs of 30 and highs of 30 as well in a partly sunny Malindi. And at 27, it's sunny in Kisumu with highs of 30. 30 will also be the high in a sunny Kakamega, currently at 24. Kampala is sunny at 23 with highs of 30. And Dar es Salaam at 27, sunny going to highs of 30. Johannesburg at 19 is sunny, highs of 27. And Mogadishu at 29 will go to highs of 31 and lows of 25. It's 18 in Addis, sunny going to highs of 21 and lows of 11. While Lagos is cloudy at 24, we'll see highs of 30 and highs of 32. In a rainy Kinshasa. Into Beijing, Friday afternoon, cloudy at 24 with highs of 25, and we'll see highs of 17 in a cloudy Paris. It's raining in London at 11 with highs of 14 and lows of 7, and around things out in New York, where Thursday night still is cloudy at 22. Coming into Friday, we'll see highs of 22 and lows of 20. Out of traffic hour this morning, and everywhere you look, really, it has reduced significantly. Not dealing with too much coming off of the Thika Superhighway survey, then towards the cities where we still have some of that traffic. But apart from that, I think we'll manage Friday not too poorly. SpiceFM KE on X through the day.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
The conversation continues with Senator from Makueni County, Senator Dan Manzo.
So then, this is the thing, even as we look at, it's clear.
Mogadishu is very hot.
It's very hot.
London is very cold.
Even as we look at some of these matters and we talk about devolution, is it deliberate, what we see? And I think you've given some pointing to that in some way. But would you say that it is a direct attack on devolution if we see that the very tenets of devolution, a Senate, a county government, which are the two places where there is lack of funds, where there is, Treasury has not sent funds to these two. We don't hear cries coming from the National Assembly. We hear cries coming from the governors, from counties, and we hear it from Senate. Why would that be? Because these are two implementers of devolution. Why would we see that there would be that, if not for an attack on devolution?
Well, I think first of all, going back to history, President Ruto never believed in the current constitution. He opposed it. He didn't see anything good in it, and that's where devolution was in. Devolution wasn't frustrated that much by President Kenyatta. He came and promised that he's going to support devolution. In fact, he made a promise that the county's money will arrive in time. Right now, for 4 months, the counties have no money. What the governors have to do to pay salaries, they borrow from a bank. they take an overdraft, which means then they are going to lose more money. Projects in the country have delayed, which means they are going to cost more. Like Thwake Dam, in Makueni. It means the more you delay, if you don't fund it in time, you delay it, then it means the contractor you'll have to reorganize, and revalue.
And penalize you.
And they penalize you. And then it means when you look at several projects in the country, you still lose more money out of those, that disorganization. And therefore, I think the president should take devolution seriously. Honorable Bandi is yet to lose more weight. He'll have now to look for another tailor because the suits won't fit him anymore. There is a lot of seepage I believe there's a lot of seepage. KRA collects a lot of money. A lot of it is lost in cash. It doesn't end up in treasury. There's also a lot of money being lost in cash in treasury. And the so-called, is a secret budget or
confidential
budget. I think this is a time it should be disclosed. And there's a lot of it, in NSIS, in the president's office. The deputy, I'm sure he is not getting a coin. That's why he's moving sometimes as to do a ticket to KQ by himself and carry his bag because he cannot even go with his assistants. And you see, all those budgets should be withdrawn and put together. And the Treasury should be very serious on the management of the funds we have, because I still believe they are largely being mismanaged. When it comes to devolution itself, so from the national government, there is a problem. From Parliament itself, there is a problem. You have such a demand of dealing with the counties. As I told you, every year we have to do a Senate machinani. And we have some pending bills. And I think all the monies from Treasury to Parliament should come in good time so that Parliament programs do not delay. Although, in my opinion, Parliament is serving Kenyans as it should be. Instead of concentrating on a serious legislative agenda, and making sure that the legislative process follows the constitution. An important aspect like public participation, which is usually a sham or just a little bit of a show, is never real, or whatever information you have collected from people. And I believe there are many brilliant Kenyans who didn't go to politics. There are experts in finance, there are experts in different fields. But when they give feedback to the House, that feedback is not processed at all. It's not accommodated in the amendment. In fact, we are just doing public participation simply because it is a requirement of the Constitution. But we do not go to exact requirements. So we end up with a law which is a sham. Now, instead of doing that, we are concentrating on raising signatures to send Rigathi home. I think it's a way of diverting attention of the real issues of the country, of the big-time deals, the Adani deals of the airport and the power stations and all that, whereby we have not done even proper. We have not looked into details. We have not gone to know who is Adani and what are his companies. How bankrupt are they? Probably this is a bankrupt fellow who is coming to loot from us. And then we don't do due diligence. We are just there. And this is what Parliament should be doing. Then the whole matter, some bad law was passed that now Cabinet can now represent the people and allow such things to happen. That law is an illegality, as I told you. And because the Parliament has allowed itself and its brains to be deleted, and they are only following one brain of William Samoei Ruto. So you can imagine how dangerous that is. That was not the intention of Kenyans, of electing 67 senators and all these almost 400 members of parliament, so that they can put their brains together and can be firm and come up with something and systems which can help the country. So the biggest problem is compromise. We are as compromised as Balaam. There was a man who was a man of God. He could bless and he could curse. And then he got compromised by a king. And even after taking a bribe from the king and was stopped on the way, he still came back to the king and told him, I will tell you how we will destroy the Israelites. We will teach them bad ways. We will give them sacrifice, meat from the sacrifices of idols. And God will be so annoyed with them, he will destroy them. But of course, Balaam could not think for God. You can see we are trying to legislate God. You are bringing a bill in parliament to legislate how God works. He can't work. Everything has been given, as to how to identify a cult. If it is Shakahola, the photographs we have are those pastors of Shakahola pray for President Ruto to win an election. And then, where was the intelligence? What does the intelligence do in this country other than torture those they imagine want to overthrow the government? You can see the newspapers are saying, DPL is to face arrest. It's nothing like a coup in the country. I don't know what has happened to the security systems in this country. They must read a book called The Leaderless Revolution, which was written in 2014 in UK. The world has changed. A phone is working more than a gun. And the young people are in another world. They are not in the world of Ruto.
They came out, those young people, in June and July, and they were expressing displeasure with their governors on many ways.
Yes.
Right? The trigger, of course, was the proposals for new taxation in the finance bill.
Yes.
But it went deeper than that. And the whole message was that we don't feel that this government is serving us, that the leaders are responsive to our needs, that are going to work every morning to address the needs of Kenyans. One of the institutions that they were really, really unhappy with is the institution of parliament.
Correct.
Collectively.
Yes.
It's not just this parliament. It's not just the 1 year of the 13th parliament. It is the observation of what has happened in parliaments before. Even the 12th parliament. There were issues where people would say, this 12th parliament is serving Uhuru Kenyatta and his wishes. This 11th parliament is serving Uhuru and Ruto and their wishes, not the wishes of Kenyans. This 13th parliament is serving William Ruto and his wishes. How do we save ourselves from getting this kind of leadership?
First and foremost, I want to say there's a lot of hope in Kenya. And when Parliament was invaded, something everybody never thought would happen. It meant that Kenyans have rejected Parliament. That is the truth. It means Parliament has been overthrown by Kenyans. And although the Constitution requires elections every 5 years, it means now we are serving, although Kenyans are quiet, we are serving without the authority of Kenyans, because the Constitution gives the supreme power to the people. And they came to the House and pronounced themselves. And therefore, what has been happening is almost every single member of Parliament is behaving like Balaam. He's compromised, or has agreed to be compromised.
They're telling the king how to destroy Kenyans.
Yes. They're telling the king. They are giving ways, on how Kenyans should be destroyed. And I think what every young person should do, everybody who has turned 18 should apply for an identity card. And as soon as, I believe there will soon be going to be IBC. You can see deliberately there is no IBC. Even for members of parliament who have passed on, there are people who are unrepresented. The MCS who have passed on, there are people who are unrepresented. You can imagine how unconstitutional that is. But somebody somewhere does not want us to have IBC. They want to keep on going around in circles to make sure there's no IBC absolutely. And it's very bad. So I really want to encourage young people, because soon IBC is going to operate, though it will have very limited time. With the time registration of voters is called for, every single Kenyan who is not registered as a voter should register. 8 million Kenyans or so did not vote. This time around, they should be so annoyed to vote. And I also want to encourage everybody who thinks they can change Kenya, including the Gen Zs, to stand for election. It doesn't matter whether you have money or no money. Kenyans are no longer going to be bribed, because that's what happens. We have created a culture of bribing the voters, so that corruption begins from the voting, from the voters to each one of us. And therefore, if we do that, then we are going to have a Kenya which is, for all of us, and a Kenya where we have participated in forming government. And therefore, Parliament and our Constitution should be majority and minority. Every single member of Parliament is supposed to check the government. But now, the so-called majority, or a makeshift majority, has declared itself, the executive. So you have parliament which is compromised by executive. And when you have parliament which is working for the executive, then it means the only hope of Kenyans is judiciary. Then now when judiciary get their security withdrawn, they have gone for training as if they never got trained, then it means that particular judge is going to be scared. And I wonder, when we went to court as the Law Society of Kenya, the judge recused himself and said, while I send this matter to the Chief Justice for a 3-judge bench to be constituted, I recuse myself and I should not be one of those judges. I believe it is the intimidation which has happened to that particular judge.
So are we saying essentially that if the arms of government are not functioning in the manner in which they ought to, then it's necessary for us to have a new look at things? Would that point to what you're saying now, that you're not unsatisfied with the status quo, then people who are in the majority today should actually look at what is happening and use the power of their vote to change things?
And if they did that, the government, there will be no corruption, and the government and the laws which will pass will not be challenged in court, and the government will properly be checked and it will work. Because it means one of the tools we have is to impeach the president. And the president must toe the line or get impeached. But when you have compromised the members of parliament, having become Balaams, all of them, then the Kenyans are not being served. And that's why we want Kenyans to elect people of integrity. People they know they will not be compromised. I want to say one, Omutata has not been compromised at all and has rejected. He was very lucky, he was almost kidnapped. And those who have been kidnapped have not been seen for months. So I would imagine Omutata will now be missing for months. Although they are no longer taking those who died to River Yala, they are being found in the quarries or never found at all. We haven't discovered what is the new river which is being used. Now that the president promised that Yala was not going to be again.
It's not going to be
so
Yala.
We don't know which other river now they have turned to. Because some people have gone missing completely. And their families are desperate and they are trying their level best. And these are people who have shown a strong stand against corruption, strong stand against bad governance, like the way Omutata did. And because he had been in a church where he had put his phone on flight mode, and then heavy rains came. Because he had an appointment in Nairobi and decided to leave at night. And the latest location on his phone was showing his house. So they went to kidnap him. And I want to say Omutata stood very strong. Even the other day in the House, he said, no, we were voting for a bill. He said, and the number was only one. And a member changed their mind and blamed him. And Omutata said, I am not part of any scam. And please draw the bars, I walk out of this House. We want members of parliament like Omutata. And I can assure you, if we had just 100 Omutatas, then the country would be different. Probably
Why can't you be the second Omutata?
Well, we work with him.
Omutata is only a first-term member of parliament. You are how term? Fourth now? Or
you know, as a lawyer, we always work in Omutata. Have you seen the matter yesterday in court? He was a petitioner. I was a petitioner too. Because, he's not a lawyer like myself, but we work together. Although he has read the law very well.
That's on the professional side.
Yes.
Right?
So we work together.
On the representation side, and the oversight side, and the legislation side.
We work together.
Can Dan Manzo say that he is as strong and steadfast?
You see, I don't want to blow my trumpet.
Have you been compromised?
Never. I will never allow myself to be compromised. And I will always vote. If it's a no, I will not change that one vote to give the government advantage when it's not supposed to be.
Right now we are seeing Parliament, the National Assembly and the Senate both jumping over each other, trying to investigate this Adani issue. Why are we having two separate investigations on Adani? We had two separate investigations on COVID-19. None of the two investigations in the National Assembly or the Senate led to anything. This one on Adani, are we just seeing the same, a repeat of the same? Is this an opportunity by individual members using committee to negotiate for something?
Well, I want to say that when it is a devolved matter, honestly, it should be dealt with by the Senate. For example, if it is agriculture, the work of National Assembly is to allocate money to the Ministry of Agriculture to implement the agriculture policy in the country. The real work, and actually agriculture and health have never been devolved. So the real work should be done by the Senate. And if there is any investigation on a devolved function like it did with agriculture, but you saw that when Agriculture Committee was investigating, the National Assembly immediately moved, although the Constitution and the standing order say that all members are representatives of the people, and any person can petition any of the House of Parliament on a matter of public interest. So sometimes the petitioners petition on a matter which is devolved of the National Assembly. Ordinarily, they should be guided, but the National Assembly then will take that role and they will begin dealing with the matter. And then at the same time, you find the Senate had also constituted itself to deal with that particular matter. So I think we have to get serious with devolution. And the two speakers are supposed to compare notes according to the Supreme Court's opinion and reallocate these matters accordingly, Article 113 and 114 of the Constitution.
So now that transport is not a devolved matter, the Senate should cease investigating Adani.
It should, but ordinarily, if a Kenyan had, if it has an element of devolution, then there should be a joint committee. There should be a joint committee. You can always form a committee of both houses, like they do when passing the person to be in charge of security, like the Inspector General. The two committees work together, and the two houses debated the report, because that's a matter according to the Act. There is the Act of Parliament dealing with security says Parliament will appoint. Then it means that person has to be vetted by the two houses. Some acts are specific. They say the National Assembly will do. So it also goes to the Acts of Parliament, but I think these are things we should be relooking to make sure now devolution is implemented properly. There is no wastage of money by two committees doing the same thing. And as you say, ending up with no answer. You can see what happened finally to the fake fertilizer issue.
It dies like that.
It dies, and it doesn't come back into the public arena, and nobody brings it up, and nobody wants to prosecute
ordinarily,
it.
Parliament now gives recommendation for prosecution to either ESCC or DCI, and then the person with the final power is the DPP. So the DPP can decide, even if you are guilty, not to prosecute you. Or when prosecution has been started on you, to end and only prosecute. That is a power given to the DPP by the Constitution. And that's why we need to look at the practicality of the Constitution in the last 10 years. And when the next time we amend the Constitution, what we should be looking at to see how then you can check some of these powers that our Constitution has already given, some of these impracticalities in our Constitution as far as the operation of the two houses is concerned. Otherwise, if the Senate if devolution is not being implemented in Kenya, we have no need. There's no need for
the Senate.
Why should we waste Kenyans' monies with a situation which is not working and with a devolution which is not implemented?
Is there a need for Parliament as it's currently constituted? So first of all, much more, you are a lawyer, seasoned lawmaker now, right? The job of Parliament: representation, legislation, oversight. By and large, because of the wanton corruption that we see, because of the misuse and misappropriation of public funds that we see, because of the started and stalled projects that we see, because of the poor implementation of government projects that we see, oversight part of Parliament, ? True?
True.
By and large, because of the number of cases that have gone to court and have been adjudged that yes, this law was passed without public participation. This law is unconstitutional. Legislation, ? True?
Correct.
The people of Kenya went to Parliament on the 25th of June and they said issues. Representation, ? Right?
Correct.
Parliament has failed in its 3 core jobs.
True.
We don't need Parliament.
No, we
this Parliament, we
don't need it.
This 13th Parliament has failed.
It is doing very little to help Kenyans.
We should therefore find people like you who are seasoned lawyers going to court to say, starve this Parliament of budget. This money should go where it should go. There's an application in
court to dissolve Parliament.
Very good.
But I was
on the issue of gender, can one go to court and say, this dissolve Parliament because it has failed in those 3?
it can do so. That would be forcing an election. You see, the constitution now says election has to be in 5 years. And that's why I'm challenging Kenyans. In the next cycle of election, please, let's not have this. Parliament is a reflection of the people. Parliament, you look like the person you elected to represent you. You are exactly the same. Because you admired that person, you gave them the vote, and you sent them to Parliament to betray you. It means you have first betrayed yourself. So the next cycle of election, and that's why I'm asking the Gen Zs, now go and demonstrate while registering a supporter. Right. Demonstrate while voting. Let's have such huge lines. Let's have every Kenyan coming out to vote. Vote out the wrong members, and you know them.
Yeah.
Vote out the compromised members. You know, anybody who is who does no longer represents you, vote this particular person out.
Very good. The call has been made to you, not just the Gen Zs, but everybody who is 18 and over, or who will be 18 and over by 2027. Senator Dan Manzo is the senator from Makueni County in the Senate of the Republic of Kenya. He's been our guest. Thank you for tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation this week. Have a lovely weekend. Enjoy yourselves. We'll be back on Monday. It's 10 a.m.
Good morning. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. The Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions has approved charges against Deputy President Rigathi Gachagwa's allies and aides over alleged financing of protest. In a letter addressed to the Directorate of Criminal Investigation,